In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, an earthly feeling. I believe in the faith that grows, and the boat coast can make.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
It is not even the same. I couldn't step during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it.
Wow.
It's not
good.
Congratulations, butthead.
When you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try. Try to reverse roles with a black person in this country. This country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys.
I doubt it.
You are fake news.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Very fake news.
You America-hating communist pig.
Bingo.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
I'm a knucklehead at times.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now. Skag free whoever he is.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
In 5, 4, 3. I can't do it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend Matt Palumbo, BonginoReport.com. Pre-order his I botched the tagline. Highly regarded book on Alex Soros, The Air, linked in the description. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't plan it to be this way, but it is officially a Matt Fest tonight. It's MattCon. We have three people on the show, myself included, of course. They're all named Matt. But to differentiate, tonight's guest is officially Matthew Mastronardi. Matthew is the Spokane, Washington high school teacher who's been fired for reading the N-word from the classic novel To Kill a Mockingbird. So
when I was in fifth grade, I think it was Tom Sawyer that it had to have been, right? That had the N-word. We were allowed to read it when I was a kid. So back in my day, which wasn't even that long ago, you could still read it as a kid.
You could get away with the hard R in English
class. It was optional, but of course every kid chose to read it.
I actually can't believe I'm going to say it again. You can back your mic off a little bit.
Wow. I'm going to do like a centimeter. I don't want to.
We're always messing with Matt's setup because anyway. And we, as you can see, we got him headphones too. We're really making some major upgrades around here.
Matt paid, by the way. I won't say which Matt, but a Matt paid.
Some Matt paid for.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah. Anyway, before that, of course, we're going to talk the big news of the weekend. Trump orders the bombing of Iran's nuclear sites. And just a few hours ago, he was posting about making Iran great again. Now,
oh God, no.
I'm trying to be fair-minded about this because I don't want to be a doomslinger, so to speak. But the making Iran great again language, I have to question. Anyway, we will break down what happened this weekend and what some of the reaction has been. Best case and worst case scenarios going into what could be Iran's response upcoming. Later in the show, Vance, do we have clarification? You know, is it Boelter or Boelter? I've heard it pronounced both ways.
I've only read it, so
I'm going to go with Boelter phonetically.
Boelter?
Vance Boelter, the loony assassin in Minnesota, he allegedly wrote a letter to the FBI saying that Tim Walz recruited him to kill Amy Klobuchar for him. Probably just deranged nonsense.
Yeah.
Probably. But I'm still like, who are Tim Walz's friends? And was that really a gaffe on the presidential debate stage? We'll examine. Got some hoax hate to close. And another sports announcer has an unfortunate slur slip we'll get into that before we're out of here. We'll catch up with your super chats as well halfway through the show. And to close the show, speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as $1 a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it pays the people who make the show possible as well. There are perks available for your support too, or you can check out the merch store. Lots of great new graphics designs for t-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales help not only my operation, but they support the designers who made the designs, all of whom are listeners of this stream. mattchristiansenmedia.com/shop. Find both of those links right there on the homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com, or of course, mattis.gay. If you can't remember my confusing name. Got to say hello to our featured friendly listener-owned, I'm speaking of botching lines, friendly featured listener-owned business for the evening. Let's try that. That's our friends at Western Razor Company. We know we're being lied to on a daily basis by our government, by corporate media, and by razor companies too. Think about it. Their ads used to appeal to your masculinity. Then they took advantage of your sensitivity with aloe strips. They kept adding blades, thinking you wouldn't notice how clogged they get. And the more they changed, the more plastic and disposable they became. The honest truth is those other razor brands are lying to your face. And our friends at Western Razor aren't going to take it anymore. That's why their safety razors are 100% metal, made in the USA, and made with integrity. The replacement blades are inexpensive as well. So you get a great shave and you save money long term, because when you buy a Western Razor once, it lasts forever. Listeners can get a 10% discount on any order from Western Razor Company when they use promo code MATT10 at checkout. Don't let those other razor brands lie to your face. Go to westernrazor.com, order yours today. Western Razor, the last razor you will ever need. Find everything you need from our friends at Western Razor at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. And don't forget, you can still get my signature Hero Soap Company scents in an awesome, solid cologne, Timberline, and Old West, available in a cologne form for you. Or if you're not into cologne, you can still get all their other awesome products, bar soap, liquid soap, shampoo, conditioner, all of those things, all natural, and a portion of the proceeds go to veteran and first responder charities. 10% off at Hero Soap Company using promo code MCListener. Promo code MCListener for 10% off at herosoapcompany.com. But let's get into the major news of the weekend, which is the whole week it was, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Trump finally pressed the John McCain button. It's right next to the nuke button, I think. We haven't done the nukes yet. At least nobody, well, that's a big yet. Hopefully we're not going there.
Yeah.
But at about 8 Eastern last night, Trump announced on Truth Social that he had conducted or the U.S. rather, not him personally, although if he personally did it would be hilarious.
A badass.
Anyway, Trump announced that the U.S. had conducted a successful bombing campaign against 3 Iranian nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, all of which I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. But these are all locations to the south of Tehran. And recall Fordo, as we discussed on Wednesday, that's the underground site or under a mountain site that requires these bunker buster bombs to reach. These are bombs that are designed to penetrate into the ground before a delayed fuse detonates explosives. And only the U.S. has these bombs and or the aircraft capable of delivering them. So there had been a lot of discussion about the U.S. conducting this sort of operation this week. But this morning, U.S. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, described the details of this campaign. It was called Operation Midnight Hammer. 120. Are you laughing at the name?
Interesting name.
Oh.
Yeah.
What would you have named it?
Nothing better, I guess.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. All right. You got me. Go on.
Operation Really Cool.
Operation Badass Bomb. I don't fucking know, man. I'm not in charge of this.
Yes, that's at Matt Palumbo 12 on X for all your branding needs. He will help you out.
For more great takes.
Anyway, okay. Actually, what we're talking about is deadly serious. I should probably stop joking around because...
Operation Deadly Serious.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
So, Operation Midnight Hammer. 125 U.S. military aircraft were deployed, including 7 of these B-2 stealth bombers that are capable of delivering these bunker buster bombs. This is the largest B-2 bomber operation in history. These aircraft left the U.S. from an Air Force base in Missouri, and they conducted an 18-hour flight. Some of them went west into the Pacific as a decoy. The ones that were delivering these bombs entered Iranian airspace. The U.S. launched 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles from submarines at the time that they entered Iranian airspace, and these went to the Isfahan site. Now, my understanding is the other sites, besides Fordo, had already been hit by Israel, and so we conducted some additional strikes on these other 2, and then Fordo was the only one that Israel had not yet touched. As the bombers entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. deployed more decoy tactics, and they used fighter jets before the bombers arrived to check for enemy aircraft and surface-to-air missiles. The B-2s then dropped these bunker busters, a total of 14 of them. There were, according to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, there were 75 precision-guided weapons used, including those 14 bunker busters. The strikes hit between 6:40 and 7:05 p.m. Eastern last night. All aircraft then returned to the U.S., apparently without complication. According to the press conference this morning, there were no fighter jets deployed by Iran, and it appears Iran's surface-to-air missiles did not see them. So at 10 p.m. Eastern last night, Trump comes out at the White House, and he speaks briefly to announce these airstrikes and the success of the mission, saying it's time for Iran to end its nuclear weapons program and make peace, or there will be more damage coming to Iran.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. The strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. This cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
As many reported on X over the weekend, right after the speech, a D.C. District Court judge issued an order requiring Trump to rebuild these Iranian nuclear sites. So
again.
Yeah.
Now, did you see the Situation Room photos of Trump with the MAGA hat on ordering it?
Yeah. Classic. Now, normally I try not to interrupt the flow of the show with Super Chats, though we do appreciate Super Chats very much. Just Long Dong John, I saw his pop up. Midnight Hammer sounds like what David DePape did at Paul Pelosi's house a few years ago.
Perfect. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, what was the effect of the strikes? Trump is calling this a total success and obliteration of Iran's nuclear capabilities. We actually don't know the full effect yet. It may be a total success. It may not be. After-action investigation is still ongoing. There are satellite images, however, before and after of the Fordo site, and we're looking at those right now. And they don't necessarily show much. If you look at one and look at the other, you see, well, what's the difference? I see the roads. I see maybe a building. I see a change in the color of the landscape, but is that due to some sort of destruction, or is that due to the time of day, or what's that about? So many are questioning whether there is any meaningful damage at all based on, again, this is the after, this is the before. Now, according to the experts, these bunker busters are designed to penetrate deep into the ground, some 60 meters or 200 feet or so before exploding. So it's not clear how much surface damage you should really expect to see from a satellite image like this. This morning, General Kane said initial assessment shows all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. There is an analyst quoted in this BBC reporting that we were looking at. It says that the in this after the bombing image that you're looking at, it's tough to see, but on kind of this gray mountain peak here, you can see what are a couple of penetration points for these bombs. And then all that gray color is concrete material blown out. But according to one report, have you where, did I lose that? Oh, yeah, here we go. According to one report, have you heard that they successfully pulled off the Luke Skywalker? Or maybe it was the Maverick.
I want some butts!
Because according to this report, the stealth bombers dropped the bunker busters through a ventilation shaft to reach deeper into the facility. Now, initially, I thought, I don't know if I believe that.
I want to believe.
The claim that I saw, it was this report here. It's just a guy saying, did I hear a reporter say that? So it's like hearsay in combination with, modern journalism. So not something you could trust necessarily.
I doubt it.
But then I was reading this Sky News reporting, and there is mention of it here too. The sites appear to be close. The sites, as in the penetration points, appear to be close to what may have been ventilation shafts, possibly chosen to maximize damage below and render the facility useless.
So they engineer the exact trajectory down the shaft, or just the surrounding area of it?
It sounds like maybe the general area, but my understanding, these bombs have a guidance system that makes them pretty precision accurate within, a few meters or
interesting.
So maybe this was a genuine Luke Skywalker op. I don't know.
Regardless of whether you're for or against this, you still have to admit it's cool that we can do this.
If that's what happened, I'm impressed.
That we were negotiating this deal for God knows how long through all these different presidencies, and Trump was like, all right, I'll just take away everything you have to negotiate with. It is cool, regardless of the second order effects of it all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's cool.
Operation Cool.
Operation Cool. It's the latest branding.
Okay, so the biggest remaining question then is, well, what is the damage to the nuclear material, if any? That's what we want to know. And both Saudi Arabia and the UN's nuclear watchdog are saying there's no increase in radiation levels after the attack. Now, I interpret that to mean that if you actually damaged a bunch of nuclear material, there would be measurable radiation in the area, is what I'm inferring from that statement. But the deputy political director of Iran's state broadcaster said Iran evacuated these nuclear sites a while ago, and Iran didn't suffer a major blow because the material had already been taken out. So it's possible that Iran's production capability may have been greatly damaged. It's also possible that they got their enriched uranium, which is what this Fordo site is supposed to be doing, or other materials out of there. Maybe they're storing them somewhere else.
But wouldn't their state TV be incentivized to lie in the other direction? Like, if we actually didn't damage anything, wouldn't they want us to think we did? Wouldn't it make more sense for us to falsely believe we did? Like, it seems like they're just trying to save face there. I could just be reading into it.
And if they wanted to justify some retaliation, maybe. Yeah. Well, I guess then maybe that wouldn't justify
you
their
could play
retaliation.
it both ways. Yeah, I think it wouldn't. You could play it either way, but I don't know. It is state media, so they're just going to say whatever they think is, I guess, the least humiliating.
It is believed that Iran has roughly 1,400 kilograms, or about 3,000 pounds of uranium enriched to varying levels, almost enough enriched at 20%, that if further enriched to weapons grade, which I don't know what the threshold is, but isn't it something like 60%? I don't know. It's whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
A highly regarded percent of enriched uranium could build one nuclear bomb. Okay. Satellite imagery captured on Thursday and Friday before the airstrikes appears to confirm or at least support this idea that Iran was moving a lot of material out of Fordo ahead of these strikes. Or at least there was unusual truck and vehicular activity. There were a total of 16 trucks that were spotted on this access road leading to the facility on Thursday and Friday. They moved between the tunnel entrance and a spot northwest of the access road. New trucks and multiple bulldozers appeared on Friday. Now, what exactly all these trucks were doing is not yet known, but it's certainly possible they were moving some enriched uranium or other assets. And so they needed all that equipment. So everyone's wondering now, okay, what's next? What's going to happen now? Now, everyone in Trump world that I've heard up until Trump a few hours ago was saying, well, that's up to Iran, which may sound like a bad thing, but what they mean by that is the U.S. is trying to negotiate to get Iran to end its nuclear weapons program, and Iran should choose to join the U.S. in negotiation and end that nuclear weapons program so there can be peace. That's what they mean by it's up to Iran. If Iran instead chooses to retaliate, there will be additional consequences. Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, they've all said something to that effect since the strike. Hey, we're not looking for regime change. We're not looking for American troops in Iran. But then Trump comes out and tweets or truths a very Trumpy thing a few hours ago. And it is still qualified. He's not saying we're going in to do regime change, but this is escalated language. It's the Truth Post reads. Sorry,
I was going to say, I predict when he's asked about this by a reporter, his defense will be, I didn't say by who.
That's okay.
Like,
yeah,
if it means the people, or that, I think I should be hired for PR or something, if that actually is the case. But
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry,
you could be the next. You could be the next.
Carolyn, leave it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I think you can do better than Karine Jean-Pierre. I think you can.
Who the hell can't?
Okay.
I've been asked things on TV before where I don't even have an opinion on, and somehow something comes out that's legible. So I feel like I could definitely do that job.
You've made it this far.
Exactly.
So Trump posts on Truth Social, it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, in all caps, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MIGA, M-I-G-A, make Iran great again. And as producer Tim says, you got to be very careful with the acronym MIGA.
The N-word, that's a very nasty word.
You don't know what you might say by accident if you carry on with that. Now, I get it. This is still kind of an extension of the talking point that Iran has to come to the table and Iran can resolve all of this. He's saying if the current regime is unable to do this, then there may be consequences. Okay. Still, make Iran great again is not really the messaging that I think a lot are going to support. The deal was make Iran not a nuclear threat again or anymore. Yeah. And that's the idea that people are on board with. So even though I am trying to be fair-minded about what's going on here and I have had hesitation about it, this thing this afternoon, I'm like, oh, make Iran great again. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's not. Yeah.
Let's talk best case and worst case scenarios here, as in what will Iran do next, since U.S. leadership is saying it's really up to Iran what happens next. Okay, best case scenario, Iran just does nothing and they start negotiating. And they could be inclined to do this, or at least give the appearance of it, to avoid further attacks and destruction. Iran has been beaten up pretty badly in the recent week or the last week, so maybe they do decide just to call it quits. However, if they were to do that, it does look like surrender. It does look like weakness. We heard the Supreme Leader this week saying, hey, if the U.S. attacks Iran, and now we have, it will be very damaging for us, the U.S. And Iran never surrenders. So that claim is going to be tested. Worst case, Iran retaliates, and this becomes more of a prolonged conflict to which we are accustomed in the region. Now, how would Iran retaliate? Iran could do so militarily or violently, or they could retaliate economically, or some combination. But it appears that the first move is going to be potentially something with the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's most valuable economic asset, or the fact that they have control of this particular waterway. This is the waterway to the south of Iran that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. In other words, much of the Middle East to the Indian Ocean, and therefore the rest of the world. Now, about 20% of the world's oil supply moves through this waterway. So disruption there from Iran could cause a significant increase in energy costs, and therefore, increase in costs for just about everything else. In response to these airstrikes, Iran's parliament has reportedly voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, though I guess there's a question as to whether that will actually happen or whether it will be enforced. But the problem for Iran is that this oil shipping primarily impacts other countries. India and China get much of their oil from this shipping lane. The Secretary of State Marco Rubio was on Fox News this morning saying this move probably doesn't accomplish that much for Iran. Number one, it damages their own economy, which they have to worry about. Number two, it's really going to prompt uninvolved countries who are more dependent on the Strait of Hormuz to go to Iran and to try to get them to stop.
Do you expect Iran to move to close the Strait of Hormuz to try to disrupt oil transportation across the world?
Well, I encourage the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that because they heavily depend on the Straits of Hormuz for their oil. If they do that, it'll be another terrible mistake. It's economic suicide for them if they do it. It would hurt other countries' economies a lot worse than ours. It would be, I think, a massive escalation that would merit a response, not just by us, but from others. They want to negotiate, we're ready to negotiate. They want to get cute and do things that are dangerous, we have responses available that are devastating.
So that is seemingly good news that Iran doesn't have as much influence over us this way. However, the fact that they can't necessarily or may have difficulty getting the U.S. this way could actually prompt them to act violently out of desperation or anger. So what could they do? Well, the U.S. military has some 40 to 50,000 people in the region. It is believed that Iran's long-range missile capability is heavily damaged through the Israeli strikes and potentially through these U.S. strikes. But they do probably still have shorter-range missile capability. We've got 40 to 50,000 U.S. military personnel across about 20 bases in the region. They could theoretically launch attacks on U.S. Navy warships using drones or torpedo boats or missiles or something else. Iran could choose to do something like that immediately, but maybe that's actually not the worst possibility. Instead, maybe Iran fakes good faith, fakes a surrender, fakes like they're coming to the negotiation table to buy time for everybody to become a little more relaxed, and then you attack when the alert level is lower. And all of that considers the possibility of Iran attacking formally and in the region. But even if Iran itself has minimal military capacity, and it probably does at this point, we also know that Iran sponsors a lot of terror groups. And you combine that with the fact that our border has not been particularly secure in recent years. Worst case scenario is probably not just like a rocket or a barrage of rockets launched at a U.S. military base or a ship in the region. Worst case scenario is probably a retaliatory attack in the U.S. by some sort of terror ally of Iran, either directly sponsored by them or just angry about the U.S. airstrikes. And in that case, not only do you get a U.S. Terror attack at home, you have dead Americans at home, but you now have an obligation to go get the people who did that. And suddenly you're probably taking actual troops to Iran. Not that you get what I mean, people on the ground. And you're going to go get their leadership like we did in Afghanistan or Iraq. Now, of course, I'm not predicting that. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm trying to outline the worst case scenario here. But the actual worst case scenario is maybe a little worse than that still. Yeah. Iran still develops a nuke and uses it. Because to build a nuke, you actually need three things. You need the weapons-grade enriched uranium. You need the metal shaping or manufacturing or machining technology to put together the explosives and the timing and all that, the rest of the bomb. And then you need the means to deliver the bomb. And the U.S. maybe just blew up the first piece, in theory, the enriched uranium, maybe the ability to produce it. But if Iran still has the enriched uranium, if they took it somewhere else, the other parts are easier. The rest of the bomb manufacturing can be done in smaller facilities. So the worst case scenario here is Iran actually still does have the ability to make a nuclear weapon. Now they're more motivated to do it. I do think that the World War III talk is a little bit overblown insofar as I don't think that Iran has the ability to take on a major fight on their own, and I don't think there's anybody who's eager to hop in to defend Iran, as in Russia's pretty busy, China doesn't seem enthusiastic for that sort of thing. So if Iran tries to fight, they probably get flattened. But that's kind of a problem on its own. Is Afghanistan got flattened, Iraq got flattened. They both became decades-long U.S. military operations at great cost. So if there's some kind of more prolonged conflicts here, Iran chooses to retaliate. I mean, the hope there then is that Iran is not like Iraq. And I've heard people making this argument. I don't know how true it is because I don't know that much about Iran. I'm like Ted Cruz. I don't know the population, never looked it up and never will. But the hope there would be that the Iranians actually do hate their government, that they do want to be free from this regime, and that if the regime was taken out and Iran was made great again, that the population would have a better reaction to that than, say, happened in Afghanistan or Iraq. But I've seen this Middle Eastern regime change story enough times to have a little bit of worry about it. Now, if everything stopped where it is right now, you've taken out Iran's nuclear capability theoretically, and they just say, fine, we're done. Okay. I mean, there's not a lot of downside to that. The downside potentially is what happens next. So we're going to find out in the coming weeks.
I could say it's either going to be really good or really bad would be my prediction. I think the worst I think I'm the best. I think the worst case scenario would be, if we did really succeed in crippling the nuclear program, would be that at least thousands probably of nationals from Iran have crossed the border illegally that are part of terrorist sleeper cells that are waiting to activate in case of a situation like this. Perhaps one argument against that would be, and I get this was before Biden, but we killed General Soleimani, and they threatened all this retaliation. And I know they attacked one of our bases, and a lot of troops had concussions and stuff, but no one ended up dying, and nothing really ended up happening. So I don't know how much ability they really have to carry this stuff out. And Israel is still bombarding them. And I know people are saying we're doing the bidding of Israel, and I certainly don't think we ever should or fight a war on their behalf. But we do have aligned interests here, and we've been negotiating with Iran for a while and haven't been getting anywhere. And if Israel is going to do it basically for us, and we don't have to put troops on the ground, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But the people who are posting on Twitter, I'm not going to die for Israel. I totally sympathize with that, even though none of us have been eligible for the draft for quite a while in literal terms. But we do have aligned interests here. I don't want this to escalate any further, but I think they have been crippled to a very large degree.
Said like a true BB shill. How much are they paying you? How do I get
not enough, man.
All right.
I always want to. I get accused of being paid off by so many different people, and I'm like, at this point, I might as well just start taking money, but I don't know how.
All right. If you have more thoughts on it, I'll take them when we come back. But I got to get to my guest because he's here and ready to go. So
I'm gonna go read the comments calling me a shill.
All right. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
I'll see you in a half hour.
I'm gonna go get Matthew Mastronardi, and I will be right back.
Sounds good.
Stand back and stand by.
Welcome back. My guest tonight is Matthew Mastronardi. He was a teacher at West Valley High School in Spokane, Washington, until he said the forbidden N-word in a literary context, and he has now been let go from his teaching job. Matthew, thanks for joining me.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Matt.
And thank you for dressing for the occasion.
I'm
impressed.
Just glad to be with you. Thought I'd throw on a tie.
Wow. Very few do. You might be the first in the history of my stream. Anyway, before we get to the moment that has thrust you into some fame here, give me a little bit of the background. You're a teacher at this high school in Spokane. What are you teaching? How long have you been there? Had you had any conflict prior? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I've been a Spanish teacher at West Valley for 3 years. I taught for 1 year at a different district here in Spokane. Prior to that, I was in the Air Force for 4 years, living out on the East Coast. And yeah, I'm married, have 3 kids. And yeah, like you said, no prior disciplinary issues prior to this. And it had just been 3 smooth years. And
was that your first 3 of teaching, or had you taught elsewhere prior?
Yeah, I taught 1 year at a different district before.
Okay. So still relatively new to you've taught 4 years in your career so far then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the incident itself. I take it that you saw a black student and you couldn't tolerate him, so you immediately shouted the N-word in his face. Something to that effect?
I mean, all jokes aside, this arose from a student-initiated question about the book To Kill a Mockingbird. and the students are reading this in their English class. So let me just be straight up. I do not actually teach the book To Kill a Mockingbird in Spanish. We're not translating it or anything like that. But I overheard two girls speaking about the book. You know, there's some side conversations going on in my class, and I overheard how they would have to skip over the word in their English class. And I just calmly expressed my disagreement with them that they have to do that. And it just started a discussion about, is it really even necessary? And I was expressing how it undermines the historical context of the book. The author chose to use historically accurate language to depict a certain time. These are all very basic things, right? But I thought it was worthwhile because the students were curious about it, and I just kind of wanted to see what their thoughts were. And, you know, we live in an age where we're losing the ability to understand context. And I thought it was a teachable moment to teach these kids about context versus intent. And so I went off script a little bit to teach them about that. And it eventually resulted in one girl asking me, look, if you were reading the book, would you read the word? And I said, yes. If I was reading from the book To Kill a Mockingbird, I would read every word. And in that moment, a boy just handed me the book, and it was open to the exact page, and he said, okay, then do it.
Oh,
and
man. So it was a dare and challenge accepted, so is how it happened.
I don't want to say it was a dare. I want to say it was that these students are starving for meaning.
Okay.
They're at a public school. They are doing tasks all day. And so very seldom are they given any real substance, any real critical thinking. That's what I was really trying to do. I was trying to facilitate critical thinking. And yeah, I don't know what exactly this boy was thinking, but he may have been thinking, you know, adults talk a big game, and they always just give us the filtered truth. Is Mr. Mastronardi going to give us the unfiltered truth? I want to see. And so I took the book and I said, look, I'm going to read this for this reason. Look, you should never call anybody this. If you use this word in a discriminatory way, that is wrong. But if we want to have a civil, sane society, functioning members of society should be able to understand context versus a discriminatory intent, and be able to weigh those two things and realize those are not the same thing. You can't just lump somebody in who's reading from To Kill a Mockingbird and lump that person in with all the racists of the world. You know, we have to be able to appreciate context, and that's what I was trying to display for my students. And I understand that it's not my content area, but still, I believe it was a lesson that sort of transcended the subject matter, and it was an important thing to teach them. We're supposed to help them think critically. We're supposed to help students understand these deeper things, and to just form and have informed opinions. And you know, they don't have to be afraid of reading a book and engaging with it honestly. And so I read the passage, and I was secretly recorded, and it made its rounds around the school. It made its way up to the administration, and now I'm facing the loss of my job.
So let me play the brief recording of the moment. This is what has gotten you in trouble.
Yes. You believe a word he says, Dill. I said Calpurnia says that's nigger talk. Then, darkly at me, he said, well, are we going to play something or not?
Now, that's all I have seen. Is there more to the video that's out there? Speaking of context, was this just posted, this 10 or so seconds, and it appeared? Or was it like a longer clip that maybe gave your intent a little bit more?
I actually don't know. I don't know if there's a longer clip out there. That's the only one that has surfaced. It's been a few weeks now, and so I think if there was a longer or other angles, that it probably would have surfaced by now. But I actually wish the clip was longer, because then you would have heard me give some follow-up to that, you know. And I said about 3 or 4 times that Again, you should not use this in a discriminatory way. However, I'm reading a book, one that you're assigned in this school that's approved curriculum, and you're being told to read it. So you have the right as a reader to read every single word. You can't skip over words. As soon as you start skipping over words, it's a slippery slope to skipping over entire ideas, entire stories. And
was it the policy of the teacher, the English teacher, whoever it was, or the school district? Let's say that the class was doing a reading of that exact passage, and a student was assigned to read it out loud for class discussion. Was it the policy of the classroom that you can't read that word? Was that the sort of the discussion among the students, or were they just skipping it because that's the culturally sensitive thing to do?
It really depends on the teacher.
Okay.
And some classes don't actually read it aloud. They listen to it on audio. And my current understanding is that when they listen to it on audio, there is a version that actually says it, and then there's a version that skips it. There's several different English teachers, and there's another English teacher who, this is kind of silly, but she tells the students to replace the N word with black man, which I think is almost worse if you ask me.
Why is it man specific? Oh, because it's man in this context, but it's of course not always a man. But anyway,
yeah, it's just silly, right? And they watch the movie after they read the book, which they hear it, right? So I just think it's, this self-censorship that we impose upon ourselves. You really miss an opportunity to have a conversation with students about the gravity of the word, the ugliness of the word. And we can't just avoid these conversations. We have to confront history, or what it'll end up repeating itself. Because if you just run away from it, the students they're not being led by a responsible adult. And then it just creates fertile ground for them to sort of create their own meaning out of it. And then maybe you end up perpetuating the exact same thing that you were trying to prevent. And that's just kind of what drives me bonkers about all this.
So this clip goes viral, as far as I understand, and you tell me if this is incorrect. But the clip just appears on social media, gets some traction. You get in trouble as a result of that traction. It's not as though some parent came to the school administration and said, Mr. Mastronardi said the N-word in class and I don't like that. There was no complaint or anything like that, or was there?
I don't know exactly. So this happened on a Thursday, right? April 17th. The next day was a Friday. I actually took the day off because it was already pre-planned. It was my wife, our anniversary. And I came back on Monday and all the kids were like, oh, he's back. We thought you got fired. And I said, no, I was celebrating my anniversary. But then on Wednesday, the principal came to see me, and he told me, look, I think you made a horrible decision. Like, why did you do this in the first place? You as a white male are the last, you should not have done this. This could get really bad. This is up at the school board.
He said as a white male, you should not have done that. The implication being if you were some other demographic, it may be more understandable.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, there was other things that were said that I don't need to repeat, but I essentially got a verbal warning. That was like a slap on the wrist. They said, look, don't ever do this again. They gave me a verbal warning or a reprimand for being uncivil with students, for behaving unprofessionally. And they said, if I did it again, I could, risk further punishment. And I said, okay, fine. I won't do it again. I think this is silly because it's an assigned book and students should be able to read every word. But 2 days later after that, I got an email from the human resources director asking to have a meeting with me. And she said, we want to have a conversation about your contract. And I right then and there, I kind of knew what was happening. And then I was given an ultimatum to either voluntarily resign or I could not have my contract renewed. And she used the words "in light of recent events."
Okay.
And so I had never had any issue prior to this. So I knew exactly what she was talking about. But they are being intentionally vague a little bit. They're saying, they're not coming out to say, "Hey, it's because you read from To Kill a Mockingbird," because that would sound ridiculous. They're saying it's parent concerns, poor judgment in the classroom, things like that. And now I'm facing the non-renewal of my contract.
The nice thing about citing parent concerns is those don't have to be specified in the interest of privacy, I assume. So, no parent has come to you, and I'm not asking you to name who they are, but just in general, there's no parent of any kid in your class who has come to you and tried to have a direct conversation with you about the supposed transgression that you committed.
No.
Okay.
No parent has come to me about this issue. And my email is available to all of them. I would be happy to respond. I do think one parent made a phone call after this happened. But so we had a couple meetings back and forth with the superintendent where I was trying to urge him to reconsider. And in that meeting, I said, okay, there's the To Kill a Mockingbird incident on April 17th. Is that what's leading to my non-renewal? And he said, yes. I mean, it's part of it. And so I ask, well, what else prior to this is contributing to your decision making? And they can give me no specifics. They cannot give me a single formal parent complaint. There's no documented disciplinary action against me. I've passed every single teaching evaluation every single year that I've been there. And so they're really just, this kind of just came like an avalanche all of a sudden. And so they're trying to mask the real reason, but we know what the real reason is. And it's just unfortunate that, fear is driving this decision more than educational, what's best for students. And we're losing our ability to tell the truth in classrooms today.
So they decide not to renew your contract. And this was the ultimatum for you was resign. And if you don't resign, you're not going to get rehired anyway. So you might as well leave. You choose to serve out the rest of your contract. And now they consider you to be a severed employee or whatever the term would be. But you are appealing that decision. Is that correct? Or there's still a process that may allow you to retain your job?
Yeah, my final appeal is to the school board. And they're the only ones who can overturn this at this point. And so there's a school board meeting on June 25th where I will be making a public comment and trying to persuade them to overturn the superintendent's decision.
Okay. Do you have any optimism about that? Is it just exhausting your options, or do you think this may actually be successful?
Well, so the community around here has been really supportive. The students have been really supportive. They've started a petition on change.org, and it has already over 2,500 signatures. And we just did a press conference on Thursday where I spoke to the media because this has been getting a lot of local traction. And we had, over, I can't remember exactly how many, but, a good bit of students on their summer break coming out to support me. And they stood by me, and then a lot of parents as well. And so I think I think the pressure's on. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they have significant pressure from families around here.
And now it sounds like they have not one, but two Spanish teacher positions to fill. Is this correct? So your brother is also, or was, I guess he still is until he's formally out, but your brother teaches Spanish at the same school and is now resigning to support you. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's where this whole thing gets really interesting. So my brother, he taught Spanish right across the hall from me. And, 3 years working together, you got your bro across the hall. And it was just a really sweet work environment, because, we're both busy. We have families. We both have 3 kids. And so we don't really get to see each other throughout the week. But just to know that every day I got to go see my brother and, I could poke my head in his class and just, I don't know, joke with him a little bit, and it was, have lunch together. It was really fun. We had a great time, and the kids, we had a sweet the kids really enjoyed that there were two Mr. Mastronardis. The first day of school was always like, oh, which Mr. Mastronardi?
How did they differentiate? What were the names they gave you to?
Well, they really didn't. My brother's, he's losing his hair a little bit. So sometimes they would just say like, oh, it's the one with hair, or
You're the hairy master. What's that in Spanish? My Spanish is very rusty. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, if he's watching this. Sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of him, but yeah, but he showed a lot of bravery to resign in solidarity with me. If you read his resignation letter, it says, all the reasons why, and he doesn't believe he can stay, that his continuation there would be sort of like an approbation of what happened. And so it was a form of protest, and now we're both trying to get the district to overturn their decision.
Okay, will he be a part of this appeal process in any formal way, or is he just kind of in a support role? Does he get to participate?
I think it's a support role.
Okay,
it's more of a support role for sure. Because he didn't get fired. I did.
What happens to your brother? Let's say that they do decide to reinstate you. He has submitted a resignation letter. Can he say just kidding, or is he out no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think the district knows that we're a package deal.
Okay. Really? So are you, I'm not asking you to make any definitive statements, but you decide how you want to describe it. If they said, we'll take you back, but your brother has resigned, you would say no, or you'd have to think about it.
Well, I mean, I would say that they're being very short-sighted. I would say, look, you guys decided to let me go for this unjust reason. And because my brother showed loyalty and solidarity with me in protest here, it's really the same thing. So if you're going to bring one of us back, you got to bring both of us back.
Okay. Well,
I think the community has been fighting for us, and they want us both back.
I want to entertain the devil's advocate points just a little bit. You've mentioned some of this, but I want to hear you expand upon it just a little bit. So let's say that I am a critical parent, very angry with what you've committed in your Spanish classroom. And some of the arguments I might make, curious how you'd respond to them. So you've addressed this a little bit, but you're a Spanish teacher. You don't do English. You're not teaching American classic literature. That's not your wheelhouse. Maybe I'm upset not necessarily by the vulgarity or the slur, but I'm upset that you are just leaving your area of study for something that isn't strictly relevant to your classroom. What do you say to that?
I would say the answer is twofold. So I'm teaching Spanish, I'm teaching language, right? And so all these different language devices that, things that revolve around grammar, right? I'm teaching kids what adjectives are, pronouns, adverbs, nouns. You'd be surprised how many freshmen come into my Spanish class, and in English, they don't know what a pronoun is. And so sometimes I actually have to spend a week just reviewing a lot of English grammar so that they can actually have a solid base to understand what I'm trying to deliver them in Spanish. And so that's not uncommon. In context, right? Context is vital for language communication. So I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say, trying to have a candid conversation about context is so foreign to a language class. So that's how I would address the subject matter area.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't know you had more.
Yeah, sorry. The second part I would say is I am with these kids for 180 days. Okay. You know how many times students have a spontaneous, thought-provoking question because they really want to just engage with something meaningful? If any teacher is being honest, they will say, yeah, I mean, it's okay to engage a spontaneous question from a student that is thought-provoking, and it might help him or her understand just the world a little bit better. Like, after all, we are trying to shape young minds so that they can enter a society where they are, contributing, where they are rational, and so it's not like that big of a deal. Now, obviously, as a professional, you have to understand, like, hey, is this student invading my privacy? Like, is it a vulgar question? Like, is there any educational angle here at all? And if it's not, then yeah, obviously you don't engage, or you say, but if you actually think that this kid is asking a really genuine, good question, and you have his undivided attention, especially now with like phones in the classroom today, like it's every teacher's dream to have a student come to a teacher and actually genuinely want to learn something. And so I'm not going to turn that kid away when he's just reaching out for a meaningful conversation, and for the competent adult in the room to give him something of meaning and to help facilitate some critical thinking. So that's what I would say.
The second thing I might say as the hypothetical enraged parent, I think you could probably answer with a lot of the same thoughts, but I'll invite you to do so nonetheless, which would be, okay, maybe it's not the vulgarity. Maybe it's not the subject matter that's a little bit outside your educational wheelhouse. I just don't like that you allowed a kid's dare to dictate what happened in the classroom. That is to say, the kids should not have control of the classroom to dare the teacher to behave in this way or that way. I know that you disputed the characterization of dare. I'm just trying to get you to entertain the argument.
Sure. Yeah, you could call it a challenge, okay? And I really like to think of it as like I was meeting real student curiosity with real meaning and real context. Like I said earlier, like the teenagers, especially in the public school setting, like they don't really trust adults that much. They think they're all talk, and they actually no action. And I've always strived to be genuine and authentic with my students. I will be the first one to tell you that I am not a perfect teacher. There's been days where I've had terrible lessons. I haven't given it my best, but I've always strived to be authentic and genuine. And, so if a student just wants to see, like, is Mr. Mastronardi like just, messing with us, or, does he really mean what he says? And is there conviction in this man? And at that moment, I shared with them like why I believe that it's important to honor the author's intent and the language that she used to write the book. And I said, like, look, if you read this, it doesn't make you a racist. And so I think my students were just wondering, like, does he really mean what he says? And I think the students really respected that.
Well, if this appeal process doesn't go your way, and if you and your brother are to depart from West Valley High School, what do you think is next for you? Do you want to try to keep teaching? Do you want to do something else? What do you think the future will be?
Yeah, so I mean, my brother and I, we love teaching, and we love just helping students learn. I could see us taking just a few months to just take a break. And we both have different side projects and passion projects that we are both engaged in. And so like I started a podcast back in November. And so if I have extra time on my hands, I would really like to pour myself into that. And I know my
The
brother
district
has
was okay with that, by the way. I don't know how controversial your podcast may be or not, but nobody ever came to you and said, we don't like you speaking your mind about this or that.
So nobody actually knew about it until like late April, early May.
Okay.
So I managed to keep it a secret, because I kept a very low profile on social media until one day, the students they said, Mr. Mastronardi, do you have a podcast?
Is it a video show or is it just audio?
It's on Spotify audio, but then there's also a YouTube channel.
Okay, so all right, so they saw you.
Yes, they saw me, and I still to this day I don't know how they found it originally, because I didn't have my name revealed at the time. But yeah, I would like to keep working on that and seeing if that's something that I can grow and build. I love doing it. And we have different entrepreneurial ventures we're thinking about, but we probably will do something together.
Well, that's great. Maintaining the brotherly bond is the most important thing, even above the professional stuff, for sure. So I'm glad to hear that. But if people want to help you through this particular episode in your life, I know you've got a Give, Send, Go account up, and I do have that linked in the description. It's givesendgo.com/Mastronardi. But is there anything else? Speaking of the podcast, do you want to shout out the podcast? Where can people find it? What's it called? All that stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing the Give, Send, Go. That really means a lot. I'm blown away by people's generosity because, yeah, this is my sole source of income, and I don't know what's next after this. And I have made a pledge that I'm going to donate 50% of the money to educational efforts that support free speech. And so if people want to give to that, just they can know that they're also giving to a really good cause as well as, supporting me. And you got a picture of my family up there.
It's relatively current, I take it. Yeah, you do have, you said your youngest is what, 6 months old, something like that?
6 months old. Yeah, that picture was when he was just born.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. And so, yeah, if people want to support, it's never expected, but certainly appreciated. And my podcast is called The Great Reassessment. So if you just go on YouTube or on Spotify and you type in The Great Reassessment, it should pop up. And yeah, it's an eclectic podcast. I interview experts in history, like different authors, doctors. I talk about history and economics, and usually about 45 minutes to an hour is every show. But I'm actually really proud of the guest list that I've been able to, get.
Who's your favorite guest so far?
Man, so Joel Salatin. I had Joel Salatin on.
Man. That's funny you say, because that's kind of an obscure name, I think, to most people.
Yeah.
But the reason I know that name is because another contributor to this show, Allison Morrow, interviewed Joel Salatin when he was being considered for Secretary of Agriculture. So,
that's a great episode if people want to go listen to it. We talk about his political stance and like getting involved with politics and why the best reform is always bottom up. It's not going to be top down, and just a really wise man. And so that was one of my favorite episodes.
Cool. All right. Well, that's The Great Reassessment. I'll try to get that linked in the description once we are finished up here so people can find that easily. But that's my guest, Matthew Mastronardi. You can follow him on X. You can find that Give, Send, Go account linked in the description. Matthew, thank you for your time and Godspeed with all the challenges you're facing. Keep me informed on how the story goes.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. And the 25th, I'll let you know how the school board meeting goes. If anyone is in the Spokane area, feel free to come out and you can come in person.
I'll see if I'm free to take a drive down I-90. It's not too far, actually. I don't know. Anyway. All right, man. Good luck with that, and we'll speak soon. I appreciate your time.
Bye.
All right, there he goes. I am going to take a break. I'll be right back, and the other Matt and I will get right into your Super Chats.
Stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand by.
Sorry, I had to reenact Adam Sandler in The Longest Pee.
That's disgusting.
I was hoping it wasn't a tech issue.
We were talking about Ham's beer before the show. That's
well, it goes right through you.
The Ham's beer.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks again to my guest Matthew Mastronardi. Again, find his links in the description, and I hope the best for him coming up with the with his professional fate here. I'll Jen Psaki circle back on the story once we have some clarity there. But we got to get into a little bit of super chats. Are you ready for that?
Yes. Also, my advice to your last guest, since he just lost a job, don't do the 50-50 pledge until after you're on your feet. Like, think for yourself. Like, you're totally allowed to think in your own best interest in this case. You took the risk. You know, it's going to take you a little while before you can, I don't know, affect things. Like, get on your feet first and then, start using money for it.
And also, if you need branding, that's at Matt Palumbo 12.
Palumbo 12. I'll do it for free.
Very cool teacher in search of new job. None of that Midnight Hammer nonsense. Okay. Captain Norway over on Tippy Stream. We'll start on Tippy Stream and YouTube. Hey, just a heads up for the upcoming Boogaloo. Taking my government into consideration. This would be the Aussie... no, never mind. I got you confused with Long Dong John, who's coming up next. Captain Norway, the Norwegian government, taking his government into consideration. They're probably drafting me to die for the fucking Ayatollah. So... please just make it quick and a lethal dose of vitamin B12. Well, I guess you got to fight for one or the other. It's either the Israelis or the Ayatollah. Someone's scooping you up for the cause. Jonathan. Well, this is awkward with no blonde around to say how much she loves her name, but happy birthday to my wonderful sister who was forcibly converted into a fan years ago and now is LaDonna's #1 fan. Well, I say this to recognize the moment.
I'd like to say fuck you! It's not against the law, ho. Fuck you.
Happy birthday. I assume your name's what, Rebecca? I don't know. Happy birthday to Jonathan's sister. And thank you for removing whatever female agency she has and forcing her to tune into this show. Appreciate that. Esoterica Unbound. The troll-in-chief wasted a golden opportunity here. This event could have been called Operation Eagle Claw 2 Biatches. For those of you too young to get the context, look it up on Wikipedia. I don't know Operation Eagle Claw, do you?
I'm on it.
What is it?
I'll do the intel while you do the questions.
Okay.
Is Eagle Claw 2?
Oh, okay.
Eagle Claw, I guess, is the original.
Yeah, well, he's saying call it 2, so...
It must be 1.
Yeah, I got it pulled up.
You're a better researcher, a co-pilot than me.
Yeah, who's the real researcher fact checker here? I got Wikipedia.
It took me an extra 3 seconds, but
on demand. You know, speaking of getting things in 3 seconds, when there's developing information like this with what's going on in Iran, anytime there's a tweet with relevant information, you notice how all the replies are, Grok, is this true? You see that?
We need to ban those people. It's always India. There'll be a video of a guy getting shot in the face, and the first comment is, Grok, what is happening in this video?
In developing news stories, I get it, where like there was a video claiming to show the Fordo explosion that was not that, so I sort of get, like, is this verified? But sometimes there are basic claims of fact, like Donald Trump has said that there was a military operation conducted to strike Iranian nuclear sites. Grok, is this true? Like one click on the internet will bring you to verification.
Yeah. They're retarded. Yeah.
They're highly regarded.
Nothing to say. Highly regarded, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, censors on YouTube.
Anyway, back to the point. Operation Eagle Claw was a failed U.S. Defense Department attempt to rescue the hostages in Iran in April 1980. So this is, revenge for, I guess, the hostage situation is the premise of the chat. Thank you. Excuse me, Esoteric Unbound. Appreciate it.
We're learning stuff.
Always learning things on this program. Okay. Long Dong John, breaking news. A Biden-appointed federal district judge just declared Trump's strike on Iran illegal and issued an injunction ordering him to rebuild the destroyed nuclear facilities. That is the gag of the weekend, but it doesn't make it any less funny. And the best jokes are always like a degree removed from the truth. I could totally see the ACLU challenging this action on some concocted nonsense grounds. Now, the truth of the matter is, there still are some lingering constitutional questions about presidential authority to deploy the military in this way, and that is important. But I could still see a one of these activist judges doing exactly that. Speaking of,
So I think I ran, and I didn't ask Rock if this was true, but said they're considering lawsuits over this, which is like, so they're going to have to hire Jewish people to retaliate against us, which is ironic. But
Come on, man.
That's true. They probably will.
I'm not joking about the laws. I wasn't setting up a Jew joke. I actually did read that. Yeah.
Does Iran need accounting as well? They might have to.
Really going to be deep.
Yeah. Okay. Esoterica Unbound. Those of us in uniform at the time have waited a long time for this day. So I think this is referring back to the hostage situation in late 70s, early 80s. And the thing about Iran, in one form or another, Iran's been doing a lot of shit. Okay, not that the U.S. is blameless in every scenario and we haven't committed our own aggressions and made our own mistakes. But the conflict between the U.S. and Iran was not born yesterday, or it wasn't something that just came up in the last week or the last year. This is something that has been, in ways, kind of a Cold War of its own for decades, although it's not that cold because it has had real episodes of violence as well. Anyway. Daniel Yeager, first and thank you, Esoterica, appreciate it, and your service to the country. Thank you for that. Daniel Yeager, first, the last 3-week news cycle has been fucking nuts. Second, it's eerie, and it's Daniel Jagger, isn't it? Speaking of names I always mispronounce. It's eerie how history is repeating itself. A lot of the same Gilded Age politics from 140 to 150 years ago before World War I. Could Ross Ulbricht broker a truce between Trump and Massey? That's the other thing Trump was doing, and it's not strictly relevant to the Iran stuff, so I didn't want to get into that. Trump is always picking fights with Thomas Massey, and I get it. Thomas Massey is like a ultra-principled thorn in your side if you're trying to get things done. He's not necessarily a get stuff done in Washington guy. But I hate when Trump picks these stupid Massey fights instead of just saying, hey, Massey's got an important point. We're trying to move the country in that direction, but practically speaking, it's not possible. So we're going to have to make some compromises. Instead, it's Thomas Massey is an enemy of MAGA. Thomas Massey needs to be primaried. He's talking about campaigning against Massey next year. And there was some big, giant truth post about how terrible Thomas Massey is.
Yeah. I mean, he wins with like 70% of the vote, so it would be very difficult, I think.
Good luck.
I mean, I get it's Kentucky, so obviously the Republicans are always going to win, but I feel like 70-30 is a pretty solid margin.
He's got a lot to. Well, of course,
throw it on.
And I guess he's saying he's going to primary him though, so like not help the Democrat win, but defeat Massey in a primary challenge. I don't know who credibly is going to do that, but anyway, Rod Bishore. Thanks to you, Blonde is now 700 pounds.
What?
Jeez.
I appreciate it. So does my unfetterman fetish for super obese women. I have no comment on that. I cannot confirm or deny. Jeez. Operation. This is Long Don John's comment. Thank you, Rod. That's probably the super chat I've needed to move on from the fastest in recent memory. Long Dong John this is the one earlier. Operation Midnight Hammer sounds like what DePape called his famous trip to the Pelosi house, of course. Over on Rumble, I'll come back to YouTube and Tippy toward the end of the stream. Thank you guys over there. Over on Rumble, Yakko 1977. I think Iran was more of a threat to Israel than to the U.S., and it's disappointing that we're involved. But a nation that backs Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis probably isn't ideal to have the bomb. Yeah, there's been an argument circulating on X too, like for the people who have been very critical of interventionism, very opposed to going and striking Iran in this way, are now saying, well, now Iran's going to come get you. And the people who are in favor of the strike and in favor of intervening saying, well, if you're worried about them striking now, how is it that you weren't worried about them having a nuke like 5 seconds ago? And the best argument I can make is that they weren't necessarily as provoked 5 seconds ago. So I think there's some truth to that, but to the bulk of the point here, is a nuclear Iran a danger to the world? Yeah. Is the world better off without a nuclear Iran? Yeah. It's just at what cost to our country and to our people? We're going to find out. And I hope it's for the best. I don't want to be a sky is falling, doomsayer type person. And I hope that Iran does, either they're so thoroughly defeated they have no choice but to concede, or they decide it's in their best interest to concede and try to move forward without any sort of nuclear weapon efforts. But I'm definitely I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about how the next couple weeks to month or so are going to play out. Yeah, I'm very worried.
You're lucky you live in Montana.
Yeah, I'm just worried for I've seen, we've watched this movie before, and I don't want to see that same movie play out. I hope it doesn't. I hope people are right that Iran is different. We're going to find out.
Yeah, the problem with regime change that we saw in Iraq was like we fired everyone associated with Saddam, so all the police force was out of work, and then when you have hundreds of thousands of people out of work, they become more radical. And like, what does that mean in Iran if we replace the ruling regime? Like, what about all the people who worked for them? Do we then put them all out of work and then potentially re-radicalize them or make them more radical? Like, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know. I do hope it's different. I just don't know how it could be, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of a dunce with foreign policy. I'm not going to lie.
He's not very
a little
highly
retarded.
In that.
A little retarded.
Yeah. Sticks sent me here. Not only are our politicians controlled by Israel, but our military is too. Great. Well, if you accept that premise, and to Matt's BB cucking earlier, I don't know that that's necessarily...
I was paid off, right?
It's possible that interests align, of course, and I'm sure a lot of them do. But if you do accept the premise that there is overwhelming Israeli influence in the U.S. government, and that Israeli interests effectively control our government, well, if you control the commander-in-chief or the Defense Department, then by extension, the people following the orders would be.
AIPAC's success rate is like 80 or 90+%, I think, back in candidates. And I'm sure you saw the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview.
I did, yeah.
Where Ted Cruz was trying to deny that AIPAC is like a pro-Israel. It was just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen to try to deny any connection between the two, or that they had any significant influence.
The defense that I've heard is it's not foreign lobbying, it's domestic lobbying that cares a lot about Israel. Okay.
It's de facto the same result, though.
Yeah, it's just it's not technically a foreign operative. It's still the same sort of interest.
It's just so you don't have to register for FARA, basically.
Yeah, well,
it's the same thing.
That was Hunter Biden's greatest crime, and eventually he was brought to justice. So many need to be. That was the crime in the whole Tenet thing too. Failure to register as a foreign agent. So by extension, someday. I still don't know what the hell happened with the Tenet stuff. I'm still waiting. Someday. I'm going to learn what the truth of the matter is in that. But someone out there didn't register as a foreign agent, I guess. Anyway, Palatine. Iran bombing operation name. Operation Nuke Iran into Greatness Again. Operation NIGA.
The N-word. That's a very nasty word.
Dangerous Spaces, our friendly producer and call screener, saw a now deleted tweet that started with the words, "Our hearts go out to the victims and families impacted by recent bombings in Iran." Bizarrely, it was from the LA County Sheriffs.
I saw that. It was weird.
That's, okay.
Yeah.
He also says, "Man, I'm thirsty. I think I'll call for a Diet Coke." What button did I just hit? Oh, that's right. He was aiming for the Diet Coke button, but he accidentally hit the McCain button. Who installed that on Trump's soundboard, on Trump's keypad?
I don't know. I heard Sue's story. I think it was in the article that broke the existence of that button, that he called someone in to bring him candy. He goes, "Bring me the poison."
At least he's aware. Bring me the poison. The poison is, hey, it's fantastic poison. I'm with him on it. But it's Coke Zero is superior to Diet Coke. But I think,
it's one of the best inventions of the past 10 years.
But I think Trump was addicted before Coke Zero was around.
It's almost identical. I can't believe it.
It's so much better than Diet Coke, to the point that I don't understand why Diet Coke is even made anymore. Maybe it's just the Trumps of the world who are legacy addicts. It's just for the boomers until they die off, but they still make it. Anyway. Also, bet Tim Walz is glad that the Iran strike shifted the news cycle from the Boelter claims. We're going to get into that in just a moment, because it is very weird. Howdy Twerkman, it's a good day to play Randy Newman's early 70s song, Political Science. Let's drop the big one and see what happens. Well, we're going to see what happens. I don't know that song. I know Randy Newman, the Toy Story. You got fed to be. That guy? I
hate that song. Yeah, I know it.
He sounds highly regarded when he sings. But
Didn't John Kerry once bring him on a trip? I can't remember which hostile country to play that in front of him. Am I remembering that correctly?
But that sounds like a John Kerry thing to do.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
It's very odd. Or maybe he was just playing. I don't know. Anyway, go on.
Crumb of Hell. Here you go. Speaking of highly regarded, Matt P. So we're differentiated here. Matt P is my favorite second chair for this show. I was hoping to ask him if it's true that everybody loves Raymond. He sounds like he knows.
That's very funny.
Bringing in references I don't understand.
Raymond, so yes.
Oh, you hate?
No, I am Raymond. I am Raymond. I'm Raymond. Who else am I?
Raymond,
Donald Trump. I'm Raymond. I'm Donald Trump Jr. The announcer from the Miracle on Ice game. I'm trying to think who else I've been compared to.
Because of what?
My voice.
Oh, you sound like them?
According to other people.
You sound like Don Jr., they say?
People say that there are people who've said they've listened to interviews with me without the video, and they thought Don Jr. was getting interviewed.
Oh.
No one I know hears it, but everyone on the internet hears it.
I'm trying to think of, you're talking about Ray Romano.
You're Romano? That guy who correctly said on the best.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
I should become a voice actor. That's my next calling.
It would be. If I ever got the
gotta
opportunity,
be an easy job.
I think
it's
got to
be an easy gig.
I would love to try it sometime. I'm not sure if I'd be good at it or not, but it sounds like it'd be fun.
The comments. Hold on. Matt could be an awesome Don Jr. Yes, he definitely sounds like Raymond and Don Jr. 100% sounds like Don Jr. He does. Everyone agrees. Everyone loves Palumbo.
Congratulations, butthead.
These are great.
All right.
Anyway, moving on.
Over on Odyssey. Thank you guys on Rumble. Blanket says, Matt, what are the chances World War III happens because of this? I think World War III is very low, but I think potential prolonged or more involved U.S. entanglement in Iran or the Middle Eastern region. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy because I am not the expert on Middle Eastern politics. But based on my life experiencing this movie a few times from afar, I'd put it at a coin flip. Like, I hope Iran settles down. I would say it's 50-50 chance whether they do something that requires us to go back at them or not. We're going to find out.
You want to see if Polymarket has a betting line?
Yeah, see if they can find it. Yes.
What should I search?
Will Iran retaliate against the U.S. or will Iran nuke or something like that?
Right before we nuke them, the betting line, the odds surged like 50 percentage points 1 minute before the announcement. So there's someone inside.
On Polymarket. Was the bet will the U.S. airstrike Iran?
That it was completed, yeah. So there's someone insider trading on this a minute before the announcement.
It's probably Trump.
Yeah. All right, hold on. Let's see.
Okay. Blanket says, Matt, did you see that they said just like Peanut the Squirrel, Austin did nothing wrong when talking about the video? Are you talking about you must be talking about the Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf video that supposedly exists, but they won't let us see it. I have not seen that. So I don't know what you mean by the Peanut the Squirrel comparison. But yeah, supposedly the video of the fight exists. We just haven't seen it. Or maybe we never will. Monster Squirrel. When will you have the Western Razor co-founder David Angelo on as a co-host sometime? I don't know if he's interested, but I've only spoken with the leadership at Western Razor by email in our kind of business arrangement. But if they're interested in media partnerships, maybe I should, or cooperation, maybe I should reach out. Because of course despite the high praise and high regard for Matt Palumbo, I'm looking to build a deep bench on this show and have a bunch of people that I can work with. So I'm open to new opportunities.
Not to go back, I found the betting odds on Iran's military response.
Okay, what are they?
So yesterday, there was a 34% chance they would respond by today. It's down to 2%, so I guess we have an hour and a half for them left.
So you can still take
line.
Have they actually service bets, or is it just an aggregator of the odds?
Oh no, it's a book.
Oh, so I can go there and say, I bet they're going to retaliate in the next hour?
Yeah, you can bet on the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Wow.
There's a 3% chance
what do you mean, like
this year.
You mean the sequel?
Yeah, which the thing is, I feel like it's a win-win bet, because if you bet no, you make a free 3%, and I think you earn interest in the deposit. And then if you get yes and it's correct, I mean, the win is that he's back.
I need their definitions on that, because of course it is the central tenet of the world's largest religion that he was indeed already resurrected. Yeah.
No, the second coming.
Okay, that's why I needed some clarification.
I just don't know how it could be a false prophet.
Yeah.
How does Polymarket know?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a 56% chance they retaliate by June 30th. But the odds are tanking on all of these. So
Well, it's because there's nowhere. Oh, it's not just today. It's until the end of the month. Okay.
they have betting lines for June 22nd, 23rd, 27th, and 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get your bets in.
And it was when you could bet on America striking. One of the top comments on a guy who bet that we would strike Iran wrote, "I'm never betting against the Jews."
It's okay. So there's comments on this site.
Oh, there's
I
a
gotta
comment
check it out.
section. You can and it says who you bet for and what contracts you own, and people
All right.
argue. And yeah, it's a lot of fun actually.
We will come back to your chats
I'll have to just circle back with you.
at the end of the stream. I got to talk about this Walz story. Now, have you followed this Vance Boelter? I'm going with Boelter, the Vance Boelter stuff.
Yeah, and did you? I feel like I must have heard you make this point as well, that the only evidence in favor of him being right wing was his neighbor being quoted as saying that.
Well,
But
it's
if
his best friend Papa John's man.
That's what I meant. His roommate. But if that's true, that's the only part of the interview that they never actually made public. Which
I
would
did
make more
after the
sense.
fact find his roommate guy. There is a clip of him saying he was a big Trump supporter, so that does exist.
There is. Oh, okay. Never
And
mind.
then
I'm out of date.
The other evidence for him being right wing is the fact that he had this hit list, supposedly,
Mm-hmm.
that was handwritten by him. But likewise, as far as I'm aware, you can't see it. That someone transcribed it and leaked it to media, parts of it this week. So the hit list is Democrats and pro-choice organizations and generally left-wing things. But the whole Vance Boelter case is very curious. To back it up just a minute, again, this is the bizarre assassin who killed the former Minnesota State House Speaker and her husband last weekend, shot a state senator and his wife. And so everybody's trying to pin this guy on their political opposition. He's right-wing, according to people of left-wing persuasion, because of Papa John's manager roommate guy and the hit list. He's left-wing, according to people of right-wing persuasion, because they found a a set of No Kings flyers in his car. Then there was the added complication that Boelter was a political appointee, of course, of Governor Tim Walz, who claims to be friends of exactly that sort of person.
I've become friends with school shooters.
But the story on that was that this business advisory board that Boelter was on is non-political. There are dozens of people of both parties on it. Walz has never even met Boelter, according to his staff. And then, of course, on Sunday night, during the stream, actually, last week, Boelter was arrested in rural Minnesota. He's currently in federal custody. He's facing 6 federal counts, including murder, which could lead to the death penalty if prosecutors seek it in the federal case. But he's also got 4 state charges, including second-degree murder. He may face a first-degree murder charge in Minnesota, but he has to be indicted by a grand jury for that to happen. So that's all in process. But remember, the story for Boelter was that he had this manifesto. That's how it was described initially. This manifesto that police recovered from his car at this is the car that he left at former State House Speaker Melissa Hortman's house after he killed her. And this was the fake police car, and in it there was this manifesto. And then over a few days and throughout the week, the story became, well, actually, it's not really a manifesto. It's a list of his targets. And then we didn't get the list from just in his car. We pieced together the list from several different places associated with him. And again, you can't see the list, at least in the way that he wrote it. You can only see it transcribed and leaked to some media outlets in Minnesota. Again, that target list is Democrat politicians, pro-choice people and organizations, that sort of stuff. But now they're saying, and they being law enforcement sources, and this is where it gets even more bizarre, law enforcement sources speaking with both the Minnesota Star Tribune and Alpha News. So we're getting anonymous sources, but the fact that both of these local outlets are quoting law enforcement with knowledge of the investigation maybe lends it a little bit more credibility. But these law enforcement sources speaking with the Star Tribune and Alpha News say that Vance Boelter had a handwritten letter intended for FBI Director Kash Patel that said Tim Walz instructed him to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar so that Tim Walz could run for Senate. So again, I will ask the question, who exactly are Tim Walz's friends?
I've become friends with school shooters.
The reporting says the letter is just rambling and conspiratorial. Can we please see the letter? No, you may not. Just trust us. It's like those Nashville writings. Rambling, conspiratorial, no conclusions to be drawn. 1.5 pages, these sources say. In the letter, Boelter alleges he was trained by the U.S. military off the books. So the SEALs were like, hey, check out that late 50s kind of fat guy. Let's bring him into our ranks. So he was recruited and trained off the books, and then Walz recruited him to kill Klobuchar and maybe some others. Where'd they find the letter? Allegedly in the Buick, this car that they found that he had recently purchased and abandoned in rural Minnesota. This was found last weekend, and they found the letter in the car, and it's very near the place he himself was eventually discovered and arrested. This is near his home in Green Isle, Minnesota. Now, I'm not saying I believe, like, first of all, does this letter exist? I mean, we have no confirmation of that. We just have anonymous law enforcement sources speaking with the Star Tribune and Alpha News say. If this letter is exactly as described, it still has some problems. That is to say, the premise of Tim Walz saying, please go kill Amy Klobuchar so that it opens a pathway to the Senate for me. There already is an open Senate seat in Minnesota, and that is because Senator Tina Smith announced in February that she's retiring at the end of her term. So Minnesota, even if Amy Klobuchar is not murdered by Tim Walz's friends, Minnesota will have an open Senate seat up for election next year to start in the 2027 term.
Well, maybe he's not running for it as plausible deniability because he wants Amy Klobuchar dead.
Maybe.
Could be it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's just had enough of her terrible jokes.
The rabbit hole goes deep. Yeah.
God, I'll never forget. Amy Klobuchar, I know I've talked about it on the stream so many times, but the meme, the infinite meme of her during the 2020 campaign when she ran for president, when she told that joke 1 million times, because she announced for president in the middle of a snowstorm in Minneapolis in winter, I think 2019, and Trump made fun of her, called her Snow Woman, called her Blizzard Woman, and she told that joke at almost every campaign stop. He called me Snow Woman. So I said, I'd like to see how your hair fares in a blizzard. Yeah, good one.
The best Trump reaction to the announcement was Elizabeth Warren when she released the video of her in her kitchen with her husband. And she's like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm announcing my presidential run.
I'm going to get me a beer. Remember that?
Yeah, then Trump's like, of course he's there. It's your house.
Oh, it's just my husband and I having an authentic marital moment. Would you like an alcoholic beverage as we traditionally consume in this kitchen?
He called it the Elizabeth Warren beer catastrophe.
Yeah.
Man has a way with words.
God, that's probably going to be the best part of the upcoming 2028 election. There'll be a fight for the Republicans too, but man, that fight that unfortunately ultimately led to the nomination of Joe Biden and unfortunately the presidency too, but the entertainment value of that Democrat primary. I've enjoyed making streams and producing content for the better part of a decade, but almost every week there was like solid gold comedy from that clown show. So I look forward to it coming back. Anyway, back to the point. On its face, there wouldn't be a lot of sense for Tim Walz to want Amy Klobuchar dead so that he can get to the Senate when he could just run for Senate. And even though he fell on his face a little bit in the presidential election, he still would probably be a front runner to gain that seat for the Senate if he decided he wanted to run. Walz says he's not interested in that Senate seat. It's believed he will probably pursue a third term for governor. His term expires at the same time, so he'll be up. If he runs again, he'll be up for re-election 2026 next year. He is ending his second term, but Minnesota has no term limits for their governor, so he is eligible to run again and keep going. So it sounds like he will do that. And so I don't know that this is probably just Vance Boelter kookery, and he probably is just a very kooky guy with a lot of bizarre, detached things to say. But politically, for Tim Walz, let's say he chooses the path of running for governor again. He doesn't run for Senate. Please lean into the meme, Tim. Make some awesome campaign ads. Consult Matt Palumbo at Matt Palumbo 12 on X for great advice.
Yeah.
But come on, please make a serious act. Hey, I know I took a beating during the presidential campaign, but you Minnesotans better vote for me because
I've become friends with school shooters.
if you don't, I've got a whole club full of Vance Boelters who are going to come and
Has he ever clarified the comment, by the way? Did he mean to say, like, school shooter survivors?
Yes,
or
he
did he
did,
actually?
yeah.
Oh, okay. That would make more sense.
and
like
I-
David Hogg or whatever.
Well, yeah, and that's the other
Yeah.
part of it is his defense was, I'm friends with David Hogg. That's what I meant. And David Hogg is a school shooting victim. But David Hogg also, many people don't know, but David Hogg committed the Sandy Hook shooting because he is actually Adam Lanza. So
They
David
do
Hogg,
look similar.
David
Yeah.
Hogg can make a cameo in this hypothetical Tim Walz ad, and it'll all come together. Please, David, I know you have a lot of time now that you're not working at the Democrat National Committee, and now that you're definitely not planning your own mass shooting at DNC headquarters as a result of that. These are not defamatory statements. I don't want some kind of defamation lawsuit from David Hogg and company. These are just terrible jokes. Very poor taste. Awful. Anyway, do you want anything else you have to say about Tim Walz and Vance Boelter before we move on?
Not really. I just wonder if he reached out to Amy Klobuchar to clarify that he doesn't want her killed.
Klobuchar is quoted in the Star Trib reporting. Let's see what she says in here. It wasn't, he called me Snow Woman. So I said, no, it's, she said in a statement Friday, but I think that's before, or around the time this news broke. Boelter is a very dangerous man. I'm deeply grateful that law enforcement got him behind bars before he killed other people. So no comment on like the allegation that Tim Walz recruited him to kill her.
Yeah.
Anyway, I assume you've followed the saga of California Senator Alex Padilla as well.
Oh,
yeah?
Jose, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you know. All right. If people haven't followed, or you forgot who this man is because he's extremely anonymous, he interrupted a Kristi Noem press conference in L.A., again, California senator, talking about cracking down on illegal immigration. He refused to shut up, and he wouldn't wait his turn to speak, so they had to remove him, and they handcuffed him, but he was not arrested. He was not charged. He's still making this some sort of attack on the rights of all Americans. If they can handcuff me, think of what they'll do to you. Even though it's clearly just a
publicity.
3, 2, 1. Publicity stunt. Tough this time of night, you know? But
beer is affecting you.
Yeah, it's too much hams. The
Hams.
hilarious thing about the publicity stunt here is that it's not working. Kristi Noem's defense was, hey, I have no idea who the hell that guy. For all I know, he is an illegal immigrant. And he kind of is. More on that in a moment. But I don't know who he is. Of course we had to detain him because he might just be like a crazy attacker man. Mm-hmm. And then Alex Padilla got offended. But his anonymity is certainly true. Nobody knows who he is, which is why he's doing this stuff. He's doing this to try to make a name for himself. But people still don't know who he is. And that brings us to J.D. Vance, as you mentioned. Vice President J.D. Vance goes to L.A. on Friday, and he's meeting with various government officials and immigration enforcement people, and he's talking about the National Guard deployment in response to the riots. And he holds this press conference, and during the press conference, he mocks the Honorable Senator Padilla. And since nobody actually knows who Senator Padilla is, he called him Jose Padilla instead of Alex Padilla.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is. You know, I think everybody realizes that's what this is. It's pure political theater.
How dare you?
Asked about the mix-up, Vance's spokesperson said, I guess he mixed up two people who have broken the law. The spokesperson told CNN without specifying the other person. But hilariously, I'm sure you could have found this with your excellent research abilities if I had assigned this task to you. Jose Padilla is a relatively famous criminal. So
I actually didn't know that, so
Yeah.
I failed you. Yeah.
Without specifying the other person. Well, did you Google Jose Padilla? Because that's what I did to find the specificity. Jose Padilla is a guy in federal prison for terrorism. He was busted for aiding terrorists plotting a dirty bomb attack back in the early 2000s, post 9/11. So they're easily confused. Well, whatever.
Did you see that? I know this is slightly off topic, but it goes into how I don't know. Well, internet, or I don't know, because I feel like he kind of got the whole theater kid occupied government meme there. Yeah. And did you see that interview with Theo Vaughn that revealed he knows who Ian Miles Chong is?
Revealed who knows? Theo Vaughn does?
That JD Vance knows who that is.
Oh, well, why wouldn't he? Ian Miles Chong is quote tweeted by Elon Musk and amplified all the time.
The setup was, so I guess JD Vance's assistant had his Twitter up on whatever screen they can look at.
Oh, yes.
There was a muted account, so JD Vance is like, oh, who did you mute? Click it, and it's Ian Miles Chong. Right. Like, JD Vance just lost it laughing.
Oh, because he said I also have him muted or something?
Well, because he knows he's a laughing stock. It was just very funny. But back to the story.
Yeah, but anyway.
Okay. Jose Padilla.
Yeah, so... Yeah. JD Vance's team is saying it was accidental, which is totally believable. Alex Padilla is convinced it was an intentional dig, so he appeared on MSNBC insisting JD Vance knows his name, which maybe JD actually does, because in fairness, JD is a former senator, and I believe their Senate terms overlapped because Alex Padilla has been in since Kamala Harris left, and JD Vance was still in the Senate during the Biden presidency, so they must have. And also, J.D. Vance is the current president of the Senate, and 100 senators is not that long of a list, so you'd think he might know.
I honestly do think it was deliberate.
Anyway.
It's way funnier if it is.
Alex Padilla is very offended by this, so he took it as a personal attack.
Currently the president of the Senate where you serve. He also went to Yale. I assume that he knows your name is Alex Padilla. Your response to him calling you Jose?
Oh, he knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously?
Shut up, faggot.
Speaking of petty and unserious, interrupting clip. Crying on a Senate floor speech, interrupting a press conference, being removed from the room, acting like it's some sort of totalitarian attack on civil rights. But whether JD Vance knows who he is or not, I bet Alex Padilla is one of the least recognizable members of the Senate. That is to say, if there was a way to poll Americans with just a lineup of senators, name the ones you can name, I bet he's one of the lowest scoring.
I thought he was a state senator when I saw the news.
Yeah, who knows?
I had no idea who he was. Yeah.
Which is crazy coming from California because, of course, he represents the largest state population in the country. Yeah. But he hasn't been in there very long, and who knows? He could. And Alex isn't even his real name. I was going to say, like, is he just Juan Jose? Is he Javier? He's Alejandro. Yeah. He just, he Americanized his name. His nickname is Alex, I guess. Alejandro. But speaking of being anonymous, you know who out-anonymized Alex Padilla for a little while? His parents. Did you know that Alex Padilla's parents were, in fact, illegal immigrants?
Oh, God.
Per the Wikipedia page.
Is he an anchor baby?
It would seem so, because it says, quote, his parents were initially undocumented to the U.S., but later became citizens.
Go back to where
the Reagan
you come
amnesty,
from, okay?
It sounds like what happened was his parents came here in the 60s. They were illegal immigrants. They happened to meet independent of one another because they both came here illegally independently. Then they went back to Mexico either engaged or already married. And once they were back in Mexico, they started the legal process to come to the United States. But my guess is that they did not inform the immigration authorities of their prior life living illegally in the United States before they decided to go the legal route. But I don't know, to your question on Anchor Baby, what was the role of Alex Padilla and or his siblings in obtaining that citizenship? Because I know that his parents were in and around L.A. illegally in the late 60s. And Alex Padilla was born when? What's his birthday? Somewhere in these personal details here. 1973. So I don't know how all that timeline overlaps as far as them being illegally present in the country and him being born. Also, I don't know his spouses. I don't know if they're older or younger, but I know there are other Padillas. Anyway. And he's the first Latino elected from California, I guess. He's also the first illegal immigrant or anchor baby in the Senate. So congratulations to Jose or Javier or Diego or Alejandro or whatever your name is. Padilla. Yeah. But speaking of Democrats committing political idiocy and beclowning themselves on Trump's strongest issue by polling, immigration and immigration enforcement, New York Congressman and, of course, reformed Oompa Loompa, Jerry Nadler, tried to inspect an ICE facility, Maxine Waters style, in Manhattan last week. And he was joined by fellow New York Congressman Dan Goldman. And they were both denied entry because this facility that they tried to go inspect, it's not actually a detention center, which legally they have the right to show up unannounced and inspect. This is just a processing place. They just do ICE paperwork, I guess, and he doesn't have the right to go in there, so he was denied. And so outside of this ICE facility in Manhattan, Jerry Nadler and Dan Goldman have a press conference demanding to know what all of these ICE secrets are, and specifically, why are these people masked? Why would anyone ever wear a mask? How dare they?
History. But these people are wearing masks and are totally unidentified. And the question is why? The question is why? It's completely improper. And again, one has to assume they're hiding something or they're hiding misbehavior, because otherwise, why would they be wearing masks and denying their identities?
But your supporters want to kill them.
There's that too.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah, you have been doing some doxing and targeting. That's been going on. But while we're on the topic of giving political messaging suggestions to prominent politicians, Tim Walz should lean into the "I'm friends with school shooters" meme. If Jerry Nadler, it's always going to be very awkward imagery for Jerry Nadler to be standing there about 3 feet tall with his chin. He has to put his chin up in the sky to get it over the edge of the podium there. If he just embraced the Oompa Loompa thing and delivered his message in song while doing the dance, I think it would be much better received. And while I'm mocking the honorable congressman from New York, I will acknowledge he didn't poop his pants this time when he was on the stage.
I was gonna make a comment about that. It's a plus.
If people haven't seen that clip, I don't have it handy, but
Is it confirmed 100%? It looks like he did, but I didn't know if it was.
If it's not pooping his pants, he needs, speaking of secrets that need to be explained, he needs to explain what happened there, because the way he waddles off the stage. Do you remember Hank Hill's dad in King of the Hill, who had like no lower legs because they got shot off in Nam or whatever the story was?
No, I've never seen the show, actually.
Okay, so Hank's dad, he waddles around, and the premise is like he lost his legs below the knees, I think, because was it World War II? Maybe it wasn't Nam. I guess it must have been World War II, given Hank's age. He got his legs shot off in the war, and so he hobbles around in this weird way because he doesn't have knees, like his leg is just one continuous thing, and he's very short because of that. That's how Jerry Nadler walked off the stage when he maybe pooped his pants, except for he does have working knee joints, allegedly.
Interesting. He's trying to have it so the shit didn't like shake out of his.
It's like the Michelle Obama dick video on Ellen. Okay, you just have to watch it and draw your own conclusions.
Are there photos of Michelle Obama pregnant?
I thought that was never. Yeah, I thought that doesn't exist as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
You know what? The other theory that my wife and I watched the Bin Laden documentary on Netflix like last week.
The one about catching him?
Yeah, we didn't kill him.
I like that one.
That was bullshit, dude.
No, go ahead.
He died in a cave of whatever disease he had or something. I can't get over the fact that they don't see fit to provide any actual evidence that they killed Bin Laden. And I also, I'm not going to go deep into this. Maybe if people want to hear me talk about it, I will. But there are aspects of the military operation itself that don't make sense in terms of the way we interacted with Pakistan. And then there's also the question of there's 24 Navy SEALs involved in this, but Robert O'Neill is the only one who talks about it. Are they all?
Well, so the thing is, this is according to other Navy SEALs. One I've spoken to, he said you're never supposed to disclose any information like
except
that. Except
Robert O'Neill.
But there's actually two people that are credited with taking out Bin Laden. I can't remember the other guy's name, so I guess they both decided to speak out. what source I have, who I can't disclose who it is, but I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
But he's a very well-known person. Told
Highly
me he does
regarded?
not
Highly regarded?
more than me.
Okay.
He doesn't believe Rob O'Neill actually took him out.
But he
it was the
believes
other guy.
that Bin Laden was killed in that raid.
But he does, yeah. But there's some people think they both got a shot on him, and you can't prove which killed him, but they both shot him. I do think the funniest thing though about that, if this is a new theory, what you're saying to me, is that Pakistan denied the whole time that he was in their country, and he was down the street from a fucking police station the whole time. Like,
there's just a lot of things.
Way to fumble that.
Maybe the biggest thing for me beyond the lack of proof, which it just baffles me that you would not.
I don't get how we don't
provide.
have that. Yeah.
Why would you not demonstrate that you have in fact successfully killed the man? That doesn't make any sense. The timing of it all, it's just, wow, right when Barack Obama starts running for re-election, you happen to get Bin Laden. Whoa, how lucky. The other thing about that documentary that I encourage people to watch, and you can tell me I'm wrong if you think that my interpretation is incorrect, the whole CIA op to track Bin Laden and get him was run by a bunch of chicks. Did you notice that? Like the whole CIA team.
It's definitely fake then.
The whole team was women, and they're complaining. Oh, after Bin Laden did 9/11, the Congress was really mean to us, and we didn't like that. And then the guy that did you catch the part? I forgot about this. They had it. The CIA recruited a Al-Qaeda associate
close the triple agent. Yeah.
Close to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Osama bin Laden to spy for them and report back to them. And then it was, we lost track of him for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months. And we didn't hear anything. And then he said, hey, I got some news for you. So he said, sure, come on over to our secret CIA base. Whoops. He was rigged with explosives and he blew up the whole place and killed like 10 people. The CIA's own asset killed like 10 CIA agents in Afghanistan or wherever that was. And you got all these chicks being like, I seemed nice. I don't know.
He convinced us he was a double agent. Meanwhile, he was telling Al-Qaeda. He's like, can you believe these people?
Yeah. The whole thing.
Incredible.
Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts about the Bin Laden documentary, clearly.
It was worthwhile. It was a very well put together doc. And I had never known there was footage of the Pentagon, the plane hitting either there. So that was new footage for me. We're going to get a lot of 9/11 truth comments.
I have not looked into that stuff very deeply myself. And this is tangentially related, of course. I'm not saying Bin Laden or Al-Qaeda didn't do 9/11. I'm just saying the story that we got him in that raid in Pakistan in May 2011, I have a lot of questions about after watching that documentary.
Trump should declassify that if it exists.
Yeah, all right. I'll see. If you can't do Epstein stuff, at least give me the Bin Laden.
We're never getting Epstein.
Can we just get the photo?
Yeah.
The photo of Bin Laden. It's too gruesome to show. That's one of the excuses. Because there is a photo that exists. Show it. Trump needs to post it on Truth with a classic Trump caption.
And then an American flag after.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, back to the point. Why would anyone wear a mask? Has Jerry Nadler not paid attention to the news? We have a COVID variant circulating, and it causes razor blade throat. That's right, the NB181. If you get it, you're going to get razor blade throat. And if you scroll down the story, according to ABC, yes, experts are recommending wearing masks to avoid getting razor blade throat. But is Jerry Nadler? Does he want people to die? Does he want grandmas to die of razor blade throat? These people, man. Why?
There are still people living in 2020.
Oh yeah, the number of people wearing masks is not zero.
I read a subreddit for my own amusement called Zero COVID Community, and there are people who have not left their house in 5 years, and their whole lives
is everything
are
delivered
apart.
to them. They have like a purely remote job. How do they even survive?
I guess so. Yeah, and like they don't have relationships with anyone. Or like there was one who was talking about he was buying something at the store when he left his house. Then he realized at the cash register he wasn't wearing a mask and had like a freak out and had to bolt out of the store to grab it. And was like asking people like, what are the odds I caught COVID in those 3 minutes I was walking through the aisle? Like it's psychotic, but it's hilarious to read.
All right. Well, are you
ready? I keep derailing these topics. I'm sorry. I'm just going to shut up for 10 minutes.
You're getting nothing but praise in the comments in the chat, so
I hope so.
All right, let's talk some hoax hate.
And
now the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
In rural Ohio, outside of Toledo, a woman who wishes to remain anonymous, just like Jose Padilla, she says her home was shot at, presumably because of her 5 progressive political flags flying outside her home, or 4 plus the American flag.
There are a total of 5 flags in her front yard. A pride, Palestinian, Ukrainian, and an upside-down American flag are on a pole near a road, and a right-side-up American flag is hanging on the porch. The owner has asked us not to share her identity due to safety concerns.
I live out here where it's supposed to be quiet and calm and peaceful, and now I'm scared.
She lives with her husband, daughter, and her father.
My dad's very passionate about life in general.
She says putting up flags in the front yard was her dad's idea. She
Very
says
private,
she had
you see.
some concerns as the flags have already brought them unwanted attention.
People yell stuff at us all the time while we're out here.
But things took a turn Saturday night.
Somebody was shooting at our house.
She says she thought her dogs had knocked something over until they found their glass storm door was shattered the next day, causing her to call the sheriff's office. The house's siding is now dotted with ricochet marks, and items on the porch are left with bullet holes. One bullet is still lodged in their house. If it went through the wall, the owner says it would have hit her daughter while she was sleeping. The owner says she thinks the upside-down American flag has been causing a lot of the animosity.
It doesn't mean disrespect in any way. It's a sign of distress.
She says this has left her scared and on edge, but they don't have any plans of taking the flags down soon.
Maybe we'll change it out, but I don't want whoever did this to think that they won.
The owner says they are currently working on getting security. She says one person she reached out to declined to work on her house after finding out hers was the one with the flags.
Do you think she added? You think she added an Iranian flag this week?
Well, here's the thing: if her house really was shot at, there's 5 different reasons for the motive. Like it could be a Jewish guy, someone that's upset the pride flag doesn't include trannies, someone upset about the upside down American flag, someone upside down about the American flag, or a Russian. So we have 5 different possible culprits. Although the bullet holes in the, what do you call that? The side of the house?
Yeah, the siding material, whatever.
The siding. It didn't look like there was a bullet hole after.
Some of it, when they showed some of that damage, I thought, I don't know, that doesn't necessarily look like bullet damage, but there's one image in there where you can see the projectile lodged in
Yes, there was one that looked real.
So I buy the fact that there was a shooting.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fake. I think that's real.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a gun guy. I'm dumb. Like, I like guns. I defend them. I know the stats on self-defense, but I don't know anything else.
Well,
like, I've never owned one.
It looked like there was a legit bullet in the framing of the house or whatever that's lodged in. I actually do buy that. But this is an interesting case. Is this for sure a hoax? I don't know. It asks me to consider a very interesting question, which is, what is more likely? Someone insane enough to put these giant flags on their flagpole outside of their home along what looks like a highway or a high traffic road. Would that person also go to the length of maybe shooting the side of their own house just to perpetrate a hoax? Maybe. Or was someone so enraged by how ridiculous this display is that they happen to have a piece in their glove compartment and maybe let a few go on their way by? Or I don't know, how close is this to? It looks like it's pretty rural, but some neighborhoods, it's actually local custom to drive by with a Glock and just unload. So how do we? You mentioned all the potential motives. It might have just been someone who belongs to a local organization, sometimes referred to as a gang, performing some sort of
initiation,
territorial claim.
Yeah.
While he drove by. Who knows?
I don't know. Like, I saw some, like Black Lives Matter. Or was it Black Lives Matter? No, it was like I saw some Hillary Clinton signs in my neighborhood once, and I didn't shoot at the house. I just ripped up the signs, which I've since learned is a crime, but it's been like 10 years, so I figure I'm probably safe with the statute of limitations. But I don't know. I just feel like burning the flags or something sends way more of a message than shooting a house. Because if you're shooting the house, you don't know if what they're going to associate that with. Like maybe they owe someone money. I don't know. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah, you're trying to make your message more clear, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Now, that would be way more efficient.
The one thing I know is for sure a hoax is when this woman, number one, we're just very private people trying to live peacefully out here in rural America. No, you're not. But when she says, I tried to tell my dad it was a bad idea. He said, I'm sure your very old dad, because this lady looks and we can see her feet, okay, and I can see how wrinkly they are. This is not a young woman. When she's trying to blame her dad with having this idea of putting up these flags, no, this is some sort of deranged, neurotic, crazy woman who is putting up this ridiculous public display while trying to deny her obvious attention-seeking behavior. And that's the number one hoax of all of this. Oh, we didn't want any attention. Okay. The whole gesture is nothing but attention craving, attention seeking, and now you got the attention. But if someone who craves and seeks attention with that level of effort, I don't have a hard time believing they might stage a shooting at their own home to make a similar attention seeking point.
Yeah. Why just one shot? Like I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I guess no matter how many shots, you could always ask why not more or less. But I don't know. It's just very odd. I guess if there's another one, we know it's probably from the politics.
No, we need to ask. You were laughing at the end of the story because there was some kind of contractor, handyman. Was he there to repair the bullet holes? Was he there to do some other work? But he shows up. Okay, this bitch. No, thank you. What is his story?
Maybe it's not even the flags. Maybe she's just known as like some crazy woman in the neighborhood, and he's like, "Oh God, not you."
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm speculating.
So if there's any confirmation in this story, I will. I'll come back to it to figure out what did we just watch. Was it a legit hate shooting or a crazy woman who shot her own house? People burn down their own houses for hoaxes. So shooting your own house is not that far of a stretch.
In all of the years you've done this segment, have any ever turned out to be real?
There are a few that I think I've had to come back to. I don't know the numbers, but it's rare, but it happens.
Yeah. All right. I figured it was probably a single-digit percentage, but I was just curious.
I want to talk Whoopi Goldberg. And this clip, and you heard it in the intro earlier tonight, but this exchange on The View went viral this week. But I want to talk about a piece of it that I don't think has been discussed much. And there's a reason I bring this into the Hoax Hate segment tonight. But if people didn't see, Whoopi Goldberg and what's her name? Alyssa Farah, whose name I can never pronounce, something like that.
Alyssa Farah.
Farah.
Her dad's like a really normal, or not normal. He's like a fanatical, pro-Trump guy.
Yeah, she worked for Trump in the first administration.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. It was January 6th the reason she quit?
Something like that, yeah.
I think she was betting, my career will be over if I'm associated with him, and then obviously that backfired.
Well, now she's on The View.
Fucking View, yeah.
Arguing with Whoopi Goldberg. And so they had this exchange about oppression in Iran. And Whoopi Goldberg is making the alleged point, that injustice here in the United States is the same as it is in Iran. If not in quantity, the same in quality. And so they went back and forth on that. And the highlight is Whoopi Goldberg saying, if you're black, it's just as bad to live in the United States as it is to live in Iran if you're gay or a woman. But the reason I think this has this hoax hate angle is I believe Whoopi is incorrectly referencing what is probably the most consequential hoax hate crime of all time. More on that on the other side of the clip.
The Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. It is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
There are places much darker than this country, and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. We got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country. Let's say, from that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go to them.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gay guys on Iranian TV shows. What the fuck?
You know, interesting fact about Iran, I was talking about this with some listeners earlier today. I did not know this. If you look at the list of gay rights in Iran, it's the one I saw on Wikipedia is like 15 categories long. Like, do they recognize same-sex marriage? Do they allow gay adoption? It's all red X's because, of course, none of those things are allowed. But do you know what is a green check?
Trannies.
Yes. And do you know why?
Yeah. It's a loophole. So if you're gay, I know this sounds like bullshit, but if you are gay, the Iranian government will fund your sex change so that you're not gay.
Bingo.
Yes.
Yep.
But it is still binary. So all you non-binary zers, you know, if you're gay, they're like, well, I guess you're a chick, so we're going to make you a chick. And these gender reassignments are not voluntary, from my understanding.
Yeah. You will be killed if you don't take it.
Yeah. So, okay. But Whoopi at the end there, well, there's just nothing I could say that could convince you. Well, that's because nothing you're saying is factual. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's all like generic things that aren't true. Not everybody feels that way. You know, I don't give a shit if not everybody feels the same way about anything. Not everybody feels the same way about gravity or what color the sky is. So not everybody feels the same way that the U.S. is a better place to live than Iran. I don't give a shit what people feel about that. There is an objective measure here, and you're way off. But what is the hoax hate part? What am I talking about here? Whoopi said, responding to the claim that Iran executes gay people, or you can't be gay in Iran, quote, "We have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car." Now, do you know what she's referencing when she says that?
I don't. Is it Matthew Shepard, or I thought it was a fence?
See, that's the thing. Matthew Shepard was not
a drug dealer, right?
Well, there's that, but he was not. His method of murder was not tied to a car, dragged by a car. I believe that's what she's talking about, though, because I searched like gay guy dragged by car, tied to car. That's not a thing. The only references you will find are this guy, James Byrd Jr., who around the same time as Matthew Shepard, if people remember Matthew Shepard, killed in Wyoming in the late 90s, supposedly a homophobic hate crime that created this federal hate crime legislation through which a lot of people are prosecuted today. So when I say most consequential hate crime hoax of all time, that's what I mean. Jussie Smollett might have been more widely publicized, but as far as the consequence of federal law, that was the Matthew Shepard case. Now, where Whoopi is making the confusion here, I believe, is that at the same time as Matthew Shepard, there was another guy called James Byrd Jr., who was a black man who was dragged by a car in Texas by two guys supposedly who were white supremacists. Now, that's not, I don't say supposedly, I just, to say that it didn't happen. They murdered him. They were convicted. I just, whenever they want this to be this perfect hate crime where it's just two people see a black guy and say, hey, I don't like blacks, let's kill him. I don't know the full context of the story is all I'm saying. But white people murdered this guy. The method of killing him was dragging him behind a car. We talk about like we're known to do this in this country. This is like the one time that happened. And do you know what happened to these guys? They were both executed. They were put on death row and executed. We didn't say, oh, well, boys will be boys. No, they were executed. So to Whoopi's point, it's not like this James Byrd murder at the time of Matthew Shepard was tolerated. It was not. Those people were brought to justice by the death penalty. And to the point that you just raised, Matthew Shepard is absolutely not a hate crime. I forgot to grab the article. And I know for a lot of people who have listened to this show for a while, I'm repeating some old points, but I just want people to be aware of the history of the Matthew Shepard case. You mentioned drug dealing. Are you familiar with what happened in the Matthew Shepard case?
I heard there was meth involved, but I didn't know if it was a deal gone bad or what, or if it's a rival. I guess I should have probably read past the headline on one many years ago.
I'm checking your fact checking off the cuff. Pretty good.
Good.
Anyway, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but if people don't know or you need a quick refresher, Matthew Shepard allegedly killed just for being gay. Two guys saw him at a bar in Laramie, Wyoming and said, hey, a homosexual, let's get him. And they took him out to the countryside and beat him up and left him on a fence to die. Now, Matthew Shepard was involved in drug trafficking and drug dealing. The two murderers were Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson, both involved in the drug trade. When Matthew Shepard was killed, Shepard was supposed to receive a $10,000 shipment of meth. So this was almost certainly a drug deal gone wrong. Whatever happened, it clearly was more personal because these people knew each other, not just like they were friends from the bar. One of the guys, Aaron McKinney, was sexually involved with Shepard prior. So I guess they hated gay guys so much.
Self-hating gay, yeah.
They have gay sex with them.
That's a big game, man.
But the lie still persists to this day. Matthew Shepard was killed in this homophobic hate crime. But the Whoopi Goldberg case there demonstrates it's not just that. Homophobic car dragging, for Whoopi Goldberg to argue that Wyoming is basically the same thing as Iran, it is amazing how these stories just morph and become lore in that way, in a way that's totally detached from the facts of what happened.
Yeah, there are certain people who can't understand per capita, but I don't know who. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a complex concept, in fairness.
Yeah.
All right. This is a loosely related topic. Now, in any other night, I maybe would have led the show with this because I always love this material, but we had more important things tonight. This show, of course, is your leader for chronicling hilarious names that sound like slurs, particularly in sports. And, of course, you know all the famous ones.
Kaniga.
Diego Fago. Luke Nigaman.
And, of course, the question with all of these talented players, how long until these play-by-play guys get fired for saying their name wrong? Well, this week, the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals pro baseball team had a slip, and it wasn't with a name. It was, ironically, in describing an upcoming Pride event. It's not just gay pride, although I guess they overlap. There's also disability pride, and that's what they're going to be celebrating in St. Louis.
What are they proud of?
I don't know.
It's got to suck. Like it's the worst thing ever. What the fuck?
I've seen some freestyle wheelchairing. That's pretty sweet. Anyway, July 10th is Disability Pride Night at the Cardinals game. And if you show up highly regarded or disabled, they give you, I guess, a special hat to advertise your pride. Or, I don't know, anyone can have the hat. I don't know. It's just a Disability Pride hat. Well, unfortunately for the voice of the Cardinals, Chip Carey, when he tried to say Disability Pride flag, he accidentally forgot the L in that last word.
That's awesome.
As usual with these sports broadcasts, I have to distort the video to avoid the copyright police, but here you go.
Disability Pride Night is Thursday, July 10th, and with the theme ticket, fans take home a Cardinals cap featuring the Disability Pride flag and Cardinals in Braille. Details at cardinals.com/theme.
Good for him.
I can't show the full video clip because it'll get dinged for copyright, but if you watch it, he said that, and then there was 31 seconds of silence on the broadcast. Like,
oh, you cut it?
I had to cut it because they'll. But
that's awesome.
If you go watch it, it's 31 seconds of painful silence. You could see the guy's whole sports broadcasting career is just flashing before his eyes. It all came to this point when I accidentally said Disability Pride fag, and now my career is over. And I don't even. There are lots of Disability Pride fags at all of these. Disability Pride fag is what the event should be called. But
it's intersectional, you know.
Yeah. And now we have our honorary Disability Pride fag out to try to throw the first pitch, but whatever. That was actually Dr. Fauci throwing the first pitch several years ago. He was a Disability Pride fag when he tried one of the worst first pitches in the history of baseball. But maybe there's some sanity coming back. According to Front Office Sports, Carey will not be disciplined for this accidental Disability Pride fag slip. The network considers the situation to be an honest mistake, they say. So, okay, maybe this hysteria is finally ending, but he's not going to get the Glenn Kuiper treatment from the Oakland A's. Glenn Kuiper, as I've referenced recently, he was fired by the Oakland A's for accidentally saying Negro Leagues wrong. He came out. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, and so he was fired. He never came back. But Carey is going to get another chance. But I think it's going to get difficult for him because I looked at the schedule, and the St. Louis Cardinals are scheduled to play the Oakland Athletics in September. So maybe it won't be Disability Pride fag night. He may be clear of that if he's careful. But you know who's coming up to bat? Nick Kurtz. He's got to say Nick Kurtz.
You say Nicholas.
Yeah, Nicholas Kurtz. You better.
Yeah.
Better watch out for that one, Chip, because they're watching you now. All right. Anything else before we get to some super chat and call it a night?
No, I think it's all from me.
All right. Well, let's see what we got for Super Chat, and we'll get into it. Where did I even leave off? Okay. I should have marked it. Oh, Long Don John we did. Esoterica Unbound. Okay. Okay, wait. Yeah, Esoterica Unbound. If nothing else, it's been entertaining listening to supposedly articulate people attempting to say bunker buster bombs over and over again. It's a challenge. Yeah, I'm sure I messed it up a couple times tonight. Danger Pudge. In the shaft, eh? Looks like Trump was celebrating Pride Month. After all. Yeah, I guess so.
You're acting queer.
Baby. Long Dong John. Matt and I once made love. I deployed my bunker buster into his secret mountain lair and ruined his nuclear program. Now he's got no negotiating power.
You are gay.
There's been a lot of opportunity to revive the Matt and I once made love. The beauty of tonight's show, which Matt? You know, you're getting a lot of love in the chat.
The 1 in 3, odds.
I mean, maybe all the Matts. I hate to drag the honorable guest, teacher, Matt Mastronardi, into this
50-50 then.
degeneracy.
Out of it.
He seems like an honorable man who wouldn't do such things. But anyway, thank you, Long Don John. Honest John McCain, I'm so happy right now. Thank you, Donald. He is, well, you decide. Is he smiling down upon us or is he smiling up upon us? I don't know.
Looking up.
Yeah. Ken Rose, although I'm remaining optimistic or trying to remain optimistic, I'm very disappointed in Trump. Well, this is one of those moves that it's a risk, okay? Trump is clearly in his second term here. He's taking big time risks with potential big time payoff. I think the same is true in the trade context and economically. Like, you're picking a fight that I don't know a lot of Americans are going to support given the economic turmoil recently. On the bet that you're going to get some awesome deals or better deals with foreign countries that are going to set us up economically better in the future. And maybe a year, 2, 3 from now, you look really, really smart. That's the best possible interpretation. Maybe it goes that direction. Likewise here, if this goes the direction of the Iranian nuclear program is no more, and you had to sacrifice nothing in terms of American lives. Now, of course, Iran has already claimed American lives. We've spent a bunch of money in the region. We've supplied Israel with a lot of military supplies to wage pieces of this war as well. So it's not as though it's no cost for us. But what I mean is, compared to, say, Iraq, Afghanistan, some of the prior conflicts, it would be very low cost. If you're able to denuclearize Iran with this gesture in the near future, that is, in retrospect, a very, very good move. These are high risk, high reward moves, which I respect. But man, in both contexts, man, am I worried about the downside, because both of those have really been teetering on some sketchy territory. You have thoughts on what would your consulting firm say to Trump on these high risks?
It's tough. How much is he paying me?
You have to register as a foreign agent is the problem.
Even though I'm domestic. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't be my best area of expertise, but that is the thing, is that most politicians only care about short-termism, which is why things like, I don't know, Social Security will never get fixed, because it's not going to be popular what you have to do, or even the trade war. I mean, the stocks sold off to a huge extent, and now they're higher than they were before, so it's just how much pain can you tolerate? But I know this is different in that, those missiles going back and forth. Yeah. So it's might be harder to bounce back from. But, if Israel really did take out a lot of their, capabilities to launch rockets, and we took out their nuclear facilities, and the only real fear would be domestically from within, people who got in through Biden's open border. I think. But,
Yeah, that's...
I probably won't be advising Trump on this issue, to be honest.
Oh, you're like the contractor at the flag house lady, or the flag lady's house. Sorry, I don't do that kind of work.
Yeah.
Honest Joe Biden. Why is everyone looking at me like that? Come on, man. Everyone knows the only brown people who came across the southern border are honest men looking to pick our cotton. The kids that smell nice.
Come on, man.
Oh, and kids that smell nice, yeah. Speaking of people who came across our border with malicious intent, There was breaking news before the show tonight, and I didn't have time to plug it into the show, and maybe I'll get into it later in the week. But speaking of district court judges making ridiculous moves, I believe this was a district court judge, or maybe it was an appeals court judge. I don't know, or appeals court panel. I don't know who in the federal courts made the decision, but our guy, Maryland father, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, did you see that news?
I just saw the human trafficking stuff, but
So
I think it might have been a week or two ago.
He's back in our country, charged with human trafficking.
Yes.
But now a federal judge has said, no, he will not be held pending trial. So we might get Kilmar back on the streets. Although the news I saw before live was that even if he is ordered released by the court, ICE is ready to arrest him on immigration grounds if he is released.
Why did we bring him back? Were we actually obeying the court order, or was it a power move like, okay, we'll bring him back, but here's what's going to happen to him?
I think it's all of the above in that it's, if conducted correctly, it's all win for Trump. You get to quell the claim that you're disregarding court orders. You still get justice against Kilmar. So the immigration issue for him is settled. The political liability, if there is one for you, is settled. You get all win unless he's released, and then we can't recover him again.
Yeah,
which maybe might. I guess I hadn't considered that possibility, but this is going to be very interesting to watch. He just wants to go to Maryland and be a dad again. Okay, come on.
That's cool. It's so cool how literally every single illegal alien who's ever entered the country is really hardworking and is just doing the only jobs we won't do that apparently were like. It just makes no sense. Like when they made the argument with the agriculture, like who's going to pick the crops? And I'm like, first of all, machinery, we can just automate it. But 50 years ago, did we not have food without these people? Like, I just don't understand what the counterfactual is supposed to be.
Who's going to build the housing we need to satisfy demand? Everyone knows not a single house was built in this country before 1950, 1960, whatever. Yeah.
The illegals do the shittiest work too. Like it's legit. There's a TikTok account of this guy, and all he does is, I don't know if it's deliberately houses that were built by illegals, but he just inspects them and goes through everything that's wrong with them.
Yeah.
So it's to the point where you can make a living out of just pointing out what's wrong with them, is my point.
Home inspectors probably are doing great in this modern era. Yeah. Purpose of the Ages, this wasn't about defense. It was about cashing in before the collapse. If the U.S. is circling the drain, who can blame insiders for using war to stack wealth? It's not patriotism, it's pre-collapse prep for the well-connected. I mean, I am always listening when people want to talk about money to be made in waging war. So I could see that. I guess I'd have to... Purpose of the Ages, if you want to expand on that with an email or something, or I know you called on Wednesday. If you want to call in and explain that theory a little bit more to me, I'd like to hear it. Not that people don't get rich off military contracts and all that stuff. When you're saying like that this is pre-collapse, or what differentiates this episode of getting rich off waging war from past episodes? I guess I'd be curious to hear. Yeah. Thank you. Esoterica Unbound. To be clear, he wasn't fired because he spoke a bad word. He was fired because he was acting as a teacher. Public schools.
True.
Public schools no longer exist to teach, but to indoctrinate. They don't even try to hide it. I mean, yeah, that's. I'd like to say that that's an uncharitable characterization, but if they had any other explanation, oh, he did this or that, and the N-word episode was just the final straw. Okay. Or if you had students complaining or parents complaining, yeah, maybe it's something in a sequence of events. When taken in totality, it starts to make more sense. But it would appear, given the information that we have, that you're exactly right. His crime is engaging in free and open critical thought with students, even if it was slightly outside of his typical wheelhouse of study. The best teachers I had in my life, they were good at their topics, and I'm not saying they shouldn't stick to those generally, but they were the sort of people who gave me thought-provoking ideas or prompted curious questions in my mind in ways that apply well beyond, say, just the Spanish language or physics or chemistry or whatever it is that they're teaching. And so his points on... People love to criticize the I'm just asking questions perspective because it's often angled in a particular direction or something.
It's just annoying when those people don't actually want the answers.
Yeah,
but
or they're asking rhetorical questions to answers they think they already have. Or to get answers they think they already have. But I don't know Matthew Mastronardi well. Obviously, this is the first. I've never spoken to him by voice until what you saw tonight. But frankly, I buy his version of the story as authentic. It sounds totally believable to me. And if soon I will have sons in need of teaching. And if we decide to go the public school route, or if we go private school or whatever, if I'm passing my kids off to be taught by somebody else, his philosophy is the sort of philosophy I'd be looking for. So good for him. I hope it turns out well for him, one way or another. Ryan Allen, Matt, does this teacher have a good or a GoFundMe or similar in case he doesn't get reinstated? I don't think I'm too bold saying some of us wouldn't mind helping out if needed. He does, yeah. It's linked in the description for if you'd like to help him out. And as he mentioned, he's going to be using it to support his family and to against Matt Palumbo's advice to support. What did he say? Free speech and education causes, I think, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, don't date.
My point is just like, if it's a couple of grand he's giving, like, no offense, I know he means well, but it's not even going to change the problem by like 1/1,000,000th of a percent. So in terms of benefit added, just, use it for your family. But he's coming from the right place. I just mean, like, it's going to do way more for you personally than it is going to do for the cause of free speech.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but he doesn't have to listen to me.
Matt Palumbo deals in Alex Soros numbers, okay? They're astronomical. You have to understand.
God, I hope that book sells.
Speaking of insignificant sums, pre-order Matt Palumbo's book on Alex.
Dude, no one pre-orders books, so you never know until the week of if it's going to sell, which is really annoying.
Linked in the description if you'd like to find it.
Yeah. If every single person watching orders it.
Highly regarded.
Don't Day 2K. Me a very happy man. All right, I'm done.
I request that next time Matt P does 3 minutes of Don Jr. just to get really wound up and go up and down a couple octaves. Is that what Don Jr. does? Does he have a wide range in pitch in his voice? I guess I haven't noticed.
I guess so. I want to go on his podcast, and then because some percentage of people will just listen and not watch the video, and I want to know if it'll just sound like him talking to himself.
Maybe. I guess I need to listen to his voice more. I've never.
I don't hear it, but I guess I probably hear my own voice differently than other people.
Over on Rumble, and hey, Omelet, thank you for coming back. I'm sorry I missed that. You're right. I did miss a previous chat, and I'm circling back to it. So if that was a mistake, or that was my mistake, but if you'd like a refund on that first chat, I will do that for you. Just send me an email. But to come back to Omelet Overlord's first chat.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Did I miss you talking about Trump letting illegal farmers stay? When did we decide that if you break the law long enough, it's okay? I have not talked about that at any length yet. And it's not for any particular reason other than there's been so much going on in the news that it's just been kind of secondary. Not that it's not important. But yeah, I agree. The other thing is, like, it's Trump, as far as I'm aware, he's just put it on Truth Social and said, we will not be doing this as severely. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Now, I agree that the principle is that if you enter this country illegally, you need to go. And if you wish to come here legally, you get to the back of the line and all that. The reason that it's been kind of secondary to me is because it's statement of, I guess, future policy, or from this point forward policy. We'll evaluate it as he keeps doing it. But yeah, I agree. In principle, not a good idea.
I don't want them here legally either, to be frank. just get the fuck out.
Anyway, Omelet Overlord also says, you skipped my previous chat. Trump is going soft on illegals and farming in hotels that are good, or quote unquote good, and have been here for a long time. Thoughts? Yeah. Or is Mexico paying more than 191 pesos to ignore me? That would be an interest. What if it was like a shadow piece of the negotiation with Mexico? Like they say, well, Mexico says, well, the people there, you got to give them a little bit more of a break. We'll help you with border security to stop the flow, but you got to give the people there a little bit of a break. I don't know. But of course, in principle, it doesn't really matter.
But this idea that the longer illegals have been here, the better they are, makes no sense, because whenever you see them interviewed, they still won't speak English after 20 years. So I just don't care.
And then they get elected to the Senate and they lecture you about not knowing their name.
Oh, man.
All right. Thank you, Omelet. I appreciate it. Sorry about missing your first chat. Tank 1562. Holy crap, he sounds like Don Jr. All right. This is like a thing, I guess. Laser 47. Spokane teacher fired for creating a racial jungle in the classroom. Come on, man. Signed Autopen.
Come on, man.
Yeah, maybe. I guess that's what Joe Biden didn't want to see. Laughing Boy, a gunman opened fire at a suburban Detroit church on Sunday, wounding one person. He was killed by a security guard for Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan. Good guys with guns win again. I saw my friend, friend of the show, Justin Nazaroff, who was on last week, Justin Nazaroff from Phoenix Ammunition, tweeting about that earlier today. It's not far from where he is. So hope the best for everybody who was attempted to be victimized by this guy who I guess drove a truck into a church and tried to commit a mass shooting or something to that effect. But yeah, it sounds like he was taken out by someone who was armed on scene. So, good guy with a gun. It's always a good guy with a gun. Whether it's a police officer or a civilian, crimes are ended universally by good guys with guns. It's a matter of fact. Laser also says Matt P. may have Don Jr.'s voice, but you can tell the two apart by their facial hair. Pro tip, you can tell he's not Don because he doesn't have the Don beard. But
it's the only way.
You grow that in a little bit.
My wife wants me to, and I forgot to buy shaving cream, so I have no choice until next grocery day. But we'll see how it comes along.
You know what you could use is a Western razor made in America, all metal construction.
Do you like the West? Do you like weight razors? Yeah.
You know what would be great
for him
if you used promo code MATT10 while purchasing a Western razor, and then you went straight to Amazon and pre-ordered the.
I was going to say they
book.
pair so well. You can shave and read at the same time.
We need
You
a
don't have to
package
use your
deal.
smartphone. Yeah.
Laser also says there's no secret cabal of Democrat operatives trained by the military to take people out. H. Who's H though? Now this is a little over my head. Is this Hunter Biden? No secret cabal of Democrat operatives trained by the military to take people out. That's what Boelter was in. Is H Hunter or is H someone else?
Maybe it's just a signature.
Is Hunter alleged to have hired hits on people? Is that part of his?
No, I think it's just general corruption and also smoking a lot of crack and banging prostitutes for some reason, but mainly the corruption.
Palatine. Matt and I once made love. I sent one down his ventilation shaft. I told him Tim Walz made me do it.
I will eat your ass.
That's my excuse too. Tim made me do it. Dangerous Spaces. Speaking of Tim's, producer Tim. Thank God for all these insanely wealthy black people who are telling us from their national platform how fellow black people are oppressed. I mean, the lack of examples might make us think otherwise. Yeah, I mean, try having anti-Khomeini The View show in Iran and see how long. See if your paychecks persist when you're broadcasting there. Good luck to Whoopi. I'll tune in for the one episode of that show that gets made, though. It'll be a good one. Dangerous Spaces. Hey, there's totally evidence that Boelter is a right-winger. You just can't see it because he lives in Canada, or because it lives in Canada and it goes to another school, or it's with the Epstein files that are just waiting to be released. Yeah, it's it's just like everyone's girlfriend in middle school. You're right.
It's weird how universal that excuse was. It's like in our DNA. That, the lava game, there's just certain things that...
Yeah, I don't know that I ever deployed that one. And so I'm laughing because clarification came in on the H, and now I do feel retarded or highly regarded.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Because, of course, the joke H from Laser earlier, as Donnie clarifies, Hillary, you puts, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I clarified.
So I got me too.
We are highly regarded, and it's late at night.
It's 11:30 where I took a sleeping pill 30 minutes ago, and it's really starting to hit me. So I'm a little out of it, but I'm ready to power through this. Over on Odyssey, Blanket says, Matt, they said Austin didn't even touch Anthony in the video. Okay, so there's description of the video. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, well, I hadn't heard any allegation that Austin had initiated physical confrontation first, or maybe that was out there. But, I mean, it's even worse for Anthony if there's no physical contact before he stabs him. Now, of course, someone can threaten you verbally in a way that justifies self-defense, but the threat would have to be like, I'm coming to kill you right now, sir, and like a movement toward him. So absent that, I don't see how Anthony has a credible self-defense claim in this one. Yeah.
Matt, how do you think, Blanket says, Matt, how do you think Whoopi would do in Iran? Well, she'd be dead. she'd have
game over.
She'd have died long ago, is what would happen. But again, if Whoopi wants to prove us wrong and do The View from Tehran for a little while, I invite her to do that. Anyway, I think we're all set. Refresh over on YouTube and Tippy. We're good on Rumble. We're good on Odyssey. And yeah, I think we're all set on YouTube and Tippy as well. All right. Anything else before we get out of here, Mr. Sleepy Man?
Buy razors and read books. My only message.
That's what a proper man does.
Yeah,
all right.
Trying to help out.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, of course, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to my guest, Matthew Mastronardi. You can find Matthew's links.
No, it's not me.
You, the other one.
Sorry.
He was
really good. He was good.
Find his links in the description. Follow him on X. You can support his GoFundMe, his Give, Send, Go, rather, as well. Thanks to this Matt Palumbo, for sitting in tonight. Follow him on X. Buy his book, The Air, all about Alex Soros. Pre-order that, linked in the description. Thanks to producer Tim for his continued assistance, as always. If you need anything show-related, head on over to the website, mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. Got everything show-related over there. And, of course, I'll be back on Wednesday night. I hope to see you then. Have a great week until then. Thanks for tuning in.